Despite being tagged with the courier class, Ben hadn't delivered a single message. 2 days of ditch digging had been his initiation. When he finally asked Billy what couriers actually did, the answer was disappointing. Couriers dig ditches too. With no messages to deliver, a shovel was his only assignment. It wasn't the work that bothered Ben, it was the context. He'd dug trenches before, during the siege of Orleans, and once tunneled into the Scarlet Bastille to rescue Cardinal Darktangent. But irrigation ditches? For farming? That was just dull. He spent most of those 2 days plotting his escape. Salvation came in the form of sedge beast hides. Slaughtering sedge beasts for meat had produced a mountain of hides. The army would buy them, but only if tanned. 2 tanners had been assigned the task, but while they had the right skill tags, they lacked practical experience. That's where Ben came in. After demonstrating his own leatherworking expertise, honed through both experience and his courier class perks, Billy let him switch from ditch digger to tanning consultant. Ben got to work. Althea and Clyde, the tanners, had recipes but not the know-how to execute them. Bark tanning required lime pits, specific bark, and coordination. Step 1 was easy. Asterisk. Hey Billy, I need to borrow 2 lumberjacks. Asterisk. With 5 people working, progress was fast. They dug 5 10-foot square pits. 3 were lined with bark-laden logs. 1 was left for soaking finished hides, and another was designated for lime water. Bark was ground at the mill, limestone smashed into powder with Ozzy's help, and the hides went through a soaking and scraping process to remove the fur. The hair was saved for daubing, a mix of goat dung and clay used in house walls. Ben swore he'd never get near that again. Cleaned hides were then dropped into pits filled with tannin from oak, Hollywood, or a mix. It would take a week for them to cure into leather. After that, they'd be pressed, oiled, and smoked. The Legion got leather, Isiemi got coins, and Ben got a temporary reprieve from digging. Billy was thrilled. With meat and leather ready for sale, their operation was on the verge of becoming profitable. Ben, Billy said with a grin, you know the reward for a job well done. Another job, Ben muttered. Billy just smiled and handed him a satchel of letters. Courier office. Now, the office was tucked beside the livery stable. Ben had peeked through its dusty windows before, but never found anyone inside. Now, stepping through the creaky door, he was greeted by a Spartan room with old maps nailed to the walls and a battered desk. A moment later, a peg-legged man pushed through a leather curtain. He thumped into the room, literally, his wooden leg echoing off the floor. Another new one, huh? Name's Matthias. Grab a seat. I'll get my spectacles. Benedict, Ben replied. Ben, for short. The inner room was far cozier. Wood-paneled walls, leather chairs, a stove, and the smell of tea brewing. A bow, sword, and jacket hung from pegs. There were books on the shelves and a loft overhead. Civilization, finally. Matthias handed him a mug. So, what do they tell you about being a courier? Nothing. Just that I'm one now. I've got some writing experience, and I can handle myself. Matthias raised an eyebrow. And do they let you keep that knowledge? A lot of you contract workers don't come through the process with your skills intact. Ben sighed. Fair, but I think I've got the right instincts. There's mention of manuals. Matthias handed him a leather-bound volume. You can read? Good. That's your first manual. There are more, but you'll need to level up before you can unlock them. Ben took a sip of tea and cracked open the book. Courier Manual, Volume I, Apprentice Tier. Couriers were a blend of adventurer and messenger, akin to the Pony Express riders of the Wild West. Sponsored by kings and nobles, they carried critical information across the land, dodging danger all the way. Asterisk courier rings. Magical, unique to each courier. Can store up to 1 pound of written material. Remove the ring, it vanishes. Overload it, you die. Asterisk travel. Boosts all transport-related skills. Riding, sailing, mole driving. Ben's was currently limited to asterisk drive card. Asterisk carry tidings. Enhances memory. Lets couriers witness and recall events with precision. Asterisk maintain conveyance. Grants crafting skills tied to their transport. Fixing tack, wagon wheels, even dragon saddles. Asterisk quest mob. Couriers naturally attract quests. Assassins, spies, and thieves love intercepting them. Bonus XP. Less death penalty. Ben set the book down. Was this a heroic profession or a glorified bullseye? Still, the outfits look cool. Riding coats, tricorn hats, boots. Way better than the sackcloth rags he wore now. Matthias returned with a plate of food. Eat up. Then I'll introduce you to Beatrice and get you started. Simple run, Rowan keeping back. Ben expected majestic steed. What he got was a gray donkey. That's Beatrice, Matthias said. She's the real courier. You're just the apprentice. Beatrice sniffed Ben, rolled her eyes, and gave a non-committal grunt. Matthias hitched her to a small cart. You'll be carrying town correspondence, an ACME package, and an order for some whiskey. Don't stop if you can help it. If someone gets in your way, show the ring. And if things go south, just trust Beatrice. 10 miles to Rowan Keep. A decent walk, until Beatrice kicked into a surprising trot. A travel skill? Maybe. She clearly wasn't just any donkey. At mile 6, goblins blocked the road. Ben braced for a fight, but they weren't hostile. Beatrice seemed to know them. A detour led to their camp, where the chief greeted Beatrice, / Grey Death Forehoof, / like an old friend. They handed over a pouch of copper. Bring back 12 bottles of red fire, the chief said. And here, take the empties. At Rowan Keep, Ben dropped off the outgoing messages, picked up the new ACME documents, and delivered a serialized romance pamphlet for Grania. He found the whiskey merchant and completed the goblin's order. The change was split, 7 copper each for Ben, Beatrice, and the merchant. The last 2 coins to the local sergeant to keep things smooth. On the way back, trouble found them. For players, clearly bandits, blocked the road. They sneered at Ben's ring and made demands. Strip, hand over the donkey, and cart. Ben didn't hesitate. He yelled and slapped the reins. Beatrice surged forward. Hoof to shin, bite to arm, cart bouncing wildly. The players chased, but Beatrice tore down the road at full gallop. Ben barely held on. At the goblin camp, he leapt off and shouted, "Whiskey thieves behind us!" The goblins roared to arms. The bandits stumbled into an ambush and were swiftly overwhelmed. For headstones replaced them. The chief shared a drink, handed over loot, and praised Ben. Smart move. Saved my whiskey and gave us some fun. Come back anytime. Bring more friends. Ben returned at dusk, fed Beatrice apples, and rubbed her down. Thanks, girl. Learn a lot today. I'll be so easy. Damn it, Greenberg. Will you just show us the map? It was the 4th time Munger had asked, and just as many times the ranger had refused. Greenberg's insistence on secrecy and the constant arguing it triggered had worn down the group's patience. Eventually, the 2 women gave up and headed back to the tavern, leaving just Manwar, Munger, and the obstinate elf to finish mapping the area. Greenberg paused mid-step, kneeling to sketch in his thick, leather-bound journal. I told you already, he said without looking up. You can see the map when it's finished and transferred to a large copy. I'm not letting anyone flip through my journal. That's not a map. That's a deer. Manwar had silently circled back, peering over Greenberg's shoulder before yelling in exasperation. Eep, you startled me. I hate erasing things while I'm drawing. Munger grabbed the journal and began flipping through it. The first few pages held rough, promising sketches of terrain. Then things went sideways, literally. Arrows pointed in opposite directions with north scribbled beside both. One page simply read, "Screw it." Then came a parade of deer illustrations. 15 pages of beautifully drawn, majestic deer. Neither Manwar nor Munger were impressed. Greenberg, completely unfazed, bit into a lemon. Manwar rubbed his temples. The drawings are good, I'll give you that. But why stop mapping? Greenberg shrugged. It didn't make sense. Every time I tried to figure out direction, you 2 insisted you knew which way was north, even when it changed. I got dizzy arguing, so I drew deer. That made both men pause. Thinking back, it had seemed obvious which paths were correct, but only in the moment. Manwar glanced at the elf, chewing his lemon. Let me guess. You're immune because you eat those things. I figure it was my 6 WIS, Perception 3, Tracking 2, and Elven Resistance to Mental Tampering. But yeah, it's probably the lemons. He took another bite. Manwar turned to Munger. What direction haven't we gone? Munger pointed. Manwar sighed. All right, Greenberg, lead us the opposite way. And if we start acting weird again, sit down and draw a deer. Several deer drawings later, a clearer picture began to emerge. There was a patch of forest where reality bent strangely. Munger and Manwar felt a compulsion to turn away from a certain area. Greenberg, initially unaffected, soon stopped too. I can't go farther. And it's hard to look at that rock. What rock? Manwar asked. Neither he nor Munger could see anything. It's squat, about 2 feet tall, square at the bottom, pointy top. There's writing, maybe, another stone to the west, and one to the east. Magic stones, maybe. Manwar's head throbbed. Try walking along them. Munger, plot our path and distances. Let's figure out how big this zone is. You have died, but heroically. You saved a girl from a mutant bug's jaws. Plus 1 stat point. Choose wisely. It influences your heritage. Suzette awoke on a marble patio, surrounded by palm trees and elegant white ibises eating blue scarabs tossed by a shirtless man in a gold-trimmed skirt. I tried breadcrumbs, he said conversationally. Too bland. Scarabs, though? Big hit. He posed suddenly. Which do you prefer, this? He twisted his body into a theatrical stance. Or this? He struck another pose. His head morphed into that of an ibis. Holy shit, Suzette shouted. Yeah, traditional gets strong reactions, he replied, face returning to normal. I'm Hermes, thrice blessed god of magic, alchemy, and all things cool. You're Suzette. Welcome to my secret order. Over lunch, skewered lamb and exotic fruits. Hermes explained, Hermetics is a blend of Greek philosophy, Egyptian magic, alchemy, astrology, you name it. I threw a party in Alexandria, picked my people, and started a society. You made the cut. Because I accidentally poisoned someone? No, because how you did it was brilliant. You reversed the polarity of healing, a fundamental Hermetic principle. And you did it unknowingly, which means you're ready. But I'm in a game. I'm a contract worker with no primary skills. ACME clipped your access, but they follow rules. Hidden skills exist, they missed Hermetics. You found it. You get to keep it. Hermes stood and smiled. Time's up. Apollo's on a hot date, apparently. I've got 2 gifts for you. My mark, others like you will see it. He tapped her forehead. And this. He handed her a book. Say Hermetica to summon it. Study well. Can I come back? Any time you're between life and death. He tossed her a banana. Eat this. They go bad fast. Suzette woke on a fountain bench in Sedgwick. She felt awful. Death sucked. She looked down. A banana sat in her lap. She ate it slowly. Summary. Met Hermes, thrice blessed. Gained 200 EP in Hermetics level 2. Gained the mark of the Hermetic Order. Gained Corpus Hermeticus Volume 1, command word, Hermetica. Gained +1 INT, now level 2. Bonus stat point gained. CHR selected, now, +3 CHR. 95% human. 5% planar heritage unlocked. 50% resistance to paralysis. You feel pretty. Back in town, she walked in the tavern. Her hair curled more. Her eyes looked bigger. Her ears, pointier. Oh God, I've got Spock ears. Billy took one look at her and sighed. Not even going to ask how you managed a makeover and elf ears. Looks good. Anyway, Betty's killing it with muffins, so I reassigned you while you were dead. You're barmaid now. Talk to Derek. Specialty changed. Lost baker. Gained barmaid. New skills, mixology, flirt, pub games, barmaid's balance. DX +1, retained from baking. Meanwhile, Raleigh was herding sedge beasts, cursing their stupidity. They got stuck in trees, bushes, and rivers. One beast, Big Bertha, had 3 calves, a third eye, double tails, and more horns than any cow should. He'd started a second herd, breeding the ugliest for their uniqueness. While scouting the river, he found a gravel bar. In the middle was a squirmy, a massive caterpillar, just like from Pokemasters 3000, injured and still. He scooped it up, found a willow grove, and made a nest. Using his weak healing skill, he nursed it back. Then he fed its sedge beast offal. It devoured everything and rolled into sleep. Prompt. Squirmy has offered to form a bond with you. He needs help with his next evolution. Accept bond? Y/N. Tears welled in Raleigh's eyes. He pressed Y best.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
Ozzy didn't sleep a hell of a lot the night before their first day off. He was finding out he really didn't need to. Sleepless in Seattle meant he could get by on 4 hours of sleep and feel well rested. But it had taken nearly a week to adjust to the skill. Sleeping was a habit, and even if your body didn't need the rest, your mind was in the habit of taking that time off. Long before the sun rose, he was awake. He went down to the river where some of the women did the washing. He filled a tub, stripped, and tossed his clothes in the cold water and added a bit of lye soap he found near the stacked tubs. He scrubbed clothes, dumped the filthy red water, and refilled the tub to let them soak. His job really got both he and his clothes filthy. He tried rinsing them out at night, but they really needed a good long soak. So did he. He knew the water was cold, but it really didn't bother him much. A lot of things didn't bother him, and that fact bothered him. The "don't worry, be happy" buff was always on. After both he and his clothes were clean, he wrung them out to remove as much moisture as he could. He had to be careful. It felt like he could easily rip them in half. By the end of the week, he had picked up his 3rd level in STR. That brought his total to 6. He'd felt the same feeling of getting more powerful, but hadn't grown any bigger. Instead, it felt like his muscles tightened. They were more corded, less bulky, like they were made of steel wire. This wasn't necessarily a good thing. The text once again suggested he might want to focus on constitution or risk injuring himself. At the end of the day, his shoulders and elbows were sore as hell. He made a visit to the general store the night before and bought some new clothes. There was still a baggy look to the pants and tunic, but they were much better made than what he had started with. The fabric was some sort of coarse, thick wool. It was dyed in a light brown color. The man running the store had said it would get softer after a couple of washes. He also got a wide leather belt with hooks to hang a pouch. A new set of heavy leather gloves and work boots completed his purchases. He was burning through the money he'd gotten from pod testing, but he needed the clothes. His first set was worn out after a week of hard work and multiple washings. Thinking of his friends, he used the rest of the money on 3 more sets of boots, socks, and heavy hooded cloaks for each of them. Can't go adventuring without a nice cloak. Ben, Raleigh, and Suzette were quite thankful for the upgrades. They wondered if they'd each get a chance at the relatively easy money, but neither Ben nor Raleigh had died yet, and Suzette said she just played some games while dead and not receive a message like Ozzy had. Walking over to the barn, Raleigh retrieved the gear they had stored behind the hay. They had 4 wooden spears with carved bone tips. Each of them had an eating knife that wasn't quite a dagger. Ozzy took his hammer and cleaver. The others also had a short wooden cudgel. Pretty primitive shit, but they were also going after level 0 creatures. At most level 1, Ben had tried to craft some leather armor, but his skills and available patterns were mostly saddles and tack. He had managed a sort of padded back and breast set from 2 saddle pads and a lot of straps added. They were bulky, but better than nothing. Suzette, Raleigh, and Ben planned to wear them. Ozzy would stick with the heavy leather apron he always wore. They each had packs, some food, and water skins. Suzette had some first aid supplies and herbs in a basket, hoping she wouldn't have to use them. As the sun came up, they put everything in a pile and headed back for the morning debriefing, after which they planned to immediately take off. The rest of the workers were there milling around and eating the ever-present groat muffins. Billy came out his hut and for once had no paperwork with him. Congrats, folks. We all made it through our first week. We got a lot done and made a good dent in things. We'll pick up tomorrow morning right at dawn with some new goals. But for today, you get a day off. I made sure management kept their word on that. Trust me, most any other manager would have you working 24/7 if he could. This project means that much to ACME. But I told the head office, hey, these guys are working hard. They deserve that day to themselves. We'll be back to it on Monday morning. I've got a bit of clout upstairs, so I want to bat for you. And I want you to have fun. But seriously, I gotta be honest with you. I worry some of you are gonna try and go do the adventurer thing and bop turtles on the heads for some EP and weapon experience. It's not easy for a contract worker. We got you guys a lot of skills that will pay off down the line, but we didn't figure on anyone trying to play Conan. But that's up to you. You want to get mangled by a rabid fox or piss off a bear? Go right ahead. Good for you to die a few times and get it out of your system. Of course, if you want to play it smart and avoid that, there's some things you can do around the village. First, take a nice walk and go shopping. I'm advancing you all another 100 copper on your paychecks. And there's free lunch and dinner at the tavern with a complimentary ale at each meal. My little thank you for a week of good work. In the afternoon, I thought we'd work a bit on some quality of life stuff. Fix up the huts a bit with some better cots and stuff some mattresses. I'll bet we can make them downright livable. And for tonight, I've got marshmallows to roast on the campfire. Should be a good time. But whatever you want to do is just fine by me. Just don't say I didn't warn you. All right, off with you. Billy has offered you a lovely package deal to help you spend your day off. It includes plus 100 copper coins. Your salary will be docked 100 copper coins. Free lunch and dinner with an ale at each meal. Free classes on how to stuff mattresses and make homemade cots and stools. A dozen marshmallows around the fire to celebrate the first week. Your promise not to go do something stupid like try and kill things in the newbie zones. Y/N. It was about an even split between the yes and no groups. Two groups seemed to be walking towards the newbie areas outside of town. Ben motioned for everyone to walk towards the village like they were going shopping, and then went out the other side. They stopped at the barn to retrieve their gear and then headed to the meadows. Raleigh had found a nice meadow that wasn't an official starting area for players, but was filled with slow, fat rabbits. Ben had gone and checked it out at night as well. Ben started to head towards the river, but Raleigh stopped the group. Best we not go that way, folks. Let's circle around through the woods a bit. Any particular reason why? What's wrong with this way? Suzette didn't like the idea of an extra mile through the woods. Well, best to avoid that field today. See, I moved over a few more cows last night, and Ferdinand was giving them that look that said, "I'll be by tonight, ladies." But Betty had her look that said, "I think I'll kill everything that moves if you do that." She's awful jealous and tends toward the others. Shrugged, and they set off. It was about a 3-mile walk through light woods. Ben was trying to spot tracks. Suzette was stopping to gather any interesting herbs. Ozzy noticed she wore a pair of gloves and used a trowel to pick them up, being as careful as she could. After a bit of a walk, they arrived at the hunting grounds that Raleigh had found for them. He was obviously excited to show them something. When they were almost out of the woods, he led them to a newly dug ditch. It was nearly 6 foot deep and 3 wide. The end in the woods sloped down easily, and they followed him for about 50 feet to where it sloped up a bit and came out behind a simple structure. Made of logs and dirt, it was a hunter's blind sunk down into the ground and camouflaged with bushes and grass that was growing on top of it. Isn't it great? Once I found this place, I came out here a couple of nights to work on it. It gives us a spot to watch the herd and not be seen, and keeps the rain off of us if we need a break. He was quite proud of it, and the others made appreciative noises. I'm going to expand it a bit more if I need to, already starting another pile of logs. Stepping up to the front of the structure, Ben looked through the slits made for observation. They were just at the edge of a field of close-cropped grass. A dozen large, fat rabbits grazed there. He concentrated on the nearest one. Name level difficulty health fat rabbit 0, very low 100. Well, I guess these are okay for starting out. Our skills are probably pretty weak. We can level up some on these, maybe try some of the level 1 areas later on. Is there a way to form a group? That's a basic function of any game. Suzette looked at the rabbits and shrugged. Not sure we can form a group or not, as contract workers, but you'd assume that there has to be a way, right? I'm sure I've heard players talk about doing it. But I brought up the /help interface, and there is nothing about groups. Various commands are tried. Start group? Group. Invite. Nothing worked, nor was there anything at all in the interface. Ben paced and grumbled. What does it take? There has to be a way. Raleigh turned to Suzette and bowed at the waist. My dear, allow me to introduce myself. I am Dragon Lord Roland of Ebonmount. Would you be so kind as to join my party? Ben scoffed. Suzette rolled her eyes but played along and curtsied. Oh, but of course, Lord. It would be an honor. He's got a message. Dragon Lord Roland of Ebonmount has extended an invitation to join his group. You will share experience and loot from fighting and quests. Y/N. Lady Suzette has joined your party. Congratulations on creating an alternate form of creating a party. This method is now permanently in the game and may be used. You can share or not share as you wish. Would you be so kind as to join my party? Sends invite to join your party. It would be an honor. Accept invite. Not today. I'm washing my hair. Decline invite. Ta-ta, I must be off. Removes you from the group. Out of wine. Sorry, party's over. Disbands the party. That's about enough of you. Removes player from party. We're putting the band back together. Reforms latest party and sends invites. Ozzy accepted the invite, as did Ben. How? Just how did you figure that out, Raleigh? Sort of obvious when you think about it, Ben. You said there had to be a way. If we didn't have one, it meant that ACME didn't want us to have one, which means the normal commands don't work. So I tried a more traditional approach. Nicely done, Raleigh. Let's go kill some rabbits. Ozzy grabbed his spear, the others followed. Party member health stamina mana condition Benedict 200,300,000 240 healthy. Suzette 200,300,000 200 healthy. Roland 100,300,000 140 healthy. Oswald 280,990,000 200 healthy. As the party screen appeared in the corner of their vision, they all pondered it for a minute, noting their different stats. Raleigh was the first to speak. Oh, that helps a lot. Ben has 200 health from being level 2. So does Ozzy, but he has extra STR and CON. Both stats must affect stamina and health. Mana looks like it's affected by points in INT, WIS, and CHR. Health is 100 per level plus 20 for each point of con and 10 for a point of STR. Stamina is similar, but use is 20 for street and 10 for con. And then that 3x modifier they gave us for being contract workers. Mana is 100 per level and 20 per point of int, Wisconsin, or CHR. That needs more info, though. Bet it has some class-specific stuff. Ozzy and Suzette nodded. They'd seen Raleigh do this before. Makes sense out of bits of info that the rest of them would need hours to ponder. Ben just kept forgetting and was always astounded when Raleigh pulled something out of his hat. I really need to level up. Time to get some EP. Raleigh started sneaking up on the nearest unsuspecting bunny. He slowly moved around it, staying about 30 feet away. It ignored him. He moved forward and thrust his spear at it. He missed. He thrust several more times, the rabbit content to munch grass. Finally, on his 6th try, he stuck the spear into the rabbit and it squealed in pain. Critical hit. You have done 20 points of damage to a fat rabbit with your default weapon. The rabbit tried to bite Raleigh, but missed. As the others watched, Raleigh and the rabbit circled each other, mostly missing or adding small scratches. The rabbit actually overbalanced at one point, but Raleigh only managed to slightly poke at its back a bit, despite it laying unmoving for a few seconds. Finally, after a couple of minutes, the fat rabbit put its teeth in his thigh and bit a chunk out of him, causing Raleigh to fall over, screaming. The rest rushed in to help. Ozzy missed several times with his spear, but kept it off Raleigh. Suzette got in a small strike. Ben tripped and fell over. The bunny took a chunk out of Ben's ear while he was getting up, doing minor but embarrassing damage. After another dozen attacks by all combatants, Ozzy had numerous bites on his legs and was down by 40 horsepower. Raleigh was at half of his 100, Suzette was unharmed, and Ben was just missing the tip of his ear and down 10 points. Ben finally managed 2 hits in a row and put the beast down. Congratulations! Your group managed to kill a level 0 fat rabbit and survive its terrible wrath. Treasure this moment forever and tell the story to your descendants. You have earned 0 experience. You will gain con EP when your wounds heal. Ozzy looked at the bloody, panting group and at the carcass of the rabbit. Let's take a break and consider this some. They moved back to the blind, and Ben started a fire. Ozzy butchered the rabbit in a few seconds and put some pieces on skewers. Suzette took chunks of meat and set to work on some recipe of her own. The rabbit was meaty with about 10 pounds of good parts that would cook up well. Suzette chopped up the meat and fat and mixed in some herbs and breadcrumbs. Molding them into a familiar shape, she put them by the fire to bake. Are those supposed to be muffins? Raleigh asked. Yep, I only know how to make muffins. So I'm making meat muffins. The food got done too quickly. Really quick, as no matter what Ozzy did, he either burned the skewers or they came out raw. Disgusted, he tried a muffin. Damn, Susie, this is tasty. You have learned a new recipe that you created on your own. Meat muffins are now a thing. You may not earn EP as a baker or cook as you lack the skills. You have earned 50 EP in hermetics and 50 EP in INT. Meat isn't a muffin, but you made two dissimilar things be equal. Continue your quest to find new things in the world. Thrice blessed Hermes, god of all things cool, would like to try meat muffin sometime. Blinking at the message, Suzette kept it to herself, but tried one of her muffins. They really were good. They all received a message after about 20 minutes. A short rest is good for small wounds. A fire, a nap, and a bit of food have healed your wounds, and you may continue your battle against the horde of fat rabbits. You receive 1 EP in con for each 10 points of damage you have healed. Well, that's something. Enough of these, and we can at least get a point of con and some more health. Ben left his spear behind, intending to try a club this time. Raleigh did the same. Ozzy brought out his cleaver, and Suzette produced some darts. Darts? Ben was curious. Brought them from the tavern. I've got the skill pub games, which includes darts, some card and dice games, and some drinking games. I'm pretty good with darts. Can't hurt to try. The next fight started off with them circling a fat rabbit and Suzette tossing 2 darts quickly at it. Both hit, one going in deep. Everyone else attacked and missed, including the rabbit. Suzette had backpedaled as soon as she threw the first 2 darts. Her next 2 also hit, and the rabbit died. Everyone but Suzette got a message similar to the first. Suzette got the following. Your group has killed a fat rabbit. You received the following. You have adapted the skill pub games to learn combat dart throwing. This is a secondary skill. -3 EP in combat dart throwing. -3 EP in DX. She shared this with the group as they sat down in the sunny meadow and discussed ideas. The rabbits ignored them. After much sharing of skills, stats, and past messages, they all turned and looked at Raleigh. Okay, this is just a theory, but I think it's all about how ACME is trying to screw us and keep us from adventuring. It's pretty obvious. Billy as much as said it straight up. Whatever skills normal players have for combat, we don't have. I noticed the little bits of armor we made aren't doing anything either. The rabbit bites right through them, and they slow us down. All of us are crap at hitting what is probably the easiest mob in the game. Maybe 10% by my estimate. I think it depends on level and DX, neither of which I have. I hit once, and it said 20 points on the crit. I think critical hits are double damage. So I'm doing 10 points, and it says default weapon. All but Suzette got the same messages, but I noticed Ozzy does a lot more damage. The one time he hit, it was for 40 points. 10 points base, 6 STR, so extra STR equates to 5 points of damage per hit, at least for default weapons. Suzette isn't using a default weapon and is hitting a hell of a lot more. So obviously we all need to figure out some way to get similar weapons. Ben was looking at Ozzy. Why doesn't your cleaver do more? Is it still a default weapon? Ozzy looked at a sheet. I don't have cleaver as a weapon. I have hack flesh and chop bone. Both skills can't be used against living creatures, just carcasses. I'm sure they put cleaver on the, no, you don't get to use this list. Too obvious. Ben stood up. New plan, I think. We need to do a few things. First, level up some stats. We can work on consum today. If we kill enough rabbits to get to 50 EP, the 3 of us will have 1 con like Ozzy and more HP. Any skill that gives STR, DX, con is good for combat. We work on those during the week. And secondly, we experiment with odd, non-weapons and see if we can each find something. It's slow, but we can beat this. I have another way to level con and minor poison resist, Ozzy said laughingly, but you aren't going to like it. I'll be cooking Sedge Beast each day to level it. Messy and painful, but it might be better than healing rabbit bites. Raleigh was happy. We know stuff and have a plan. Let's go kill more rabbits. We all need to block the bunny from getting to Suzette next time. We suck at hitting it, but we can still get in its way while she deals death from above. The rest of the morning was spent killing fat rabbits and occasionally taking a break to heal up. They were accumulating a nice pile of rabbits, which they thought they could sell to the tavern or inn. After one break, they noticed the last 3 fat rabbits were moving towards them. Ben noticed first. Heads up, they might be actually working together now, rather than letting us kill them one by one. Raleigh thought they looked scared. Poor things are shivering. Come here, little bunny. I'll protect you. Laughter echoed through the meadow. And not the good kind like at your 6th birthday party. No, this was more like the laughter of the pack of bullies who caught you in the men's room, knowing you have your lunch money on you. A cloud obscured the sun, and a bit of wind picked up. And who is going to protect you while you protect the chubby bunny? I'll give you a hint. No one. A large wolf with red eyes stalked into the meadow. That was enough for the 3 remaining fat rabbits, who started running for the safety of a hole in the ground. They didn't make it. Black lightning arced from the wolf's eyes, and they slumped to the ground. Then they clumsily got back up. Name level difficulty health fat zombie bunny 0, very low 100. Name level difficulty health Chartok, the necro wolf beyond you. 50% more than certain than death. A whole bunch. And since he took my lunch, let's bring out a few more friends to play. With a horrible screaming sound, the earth broke open around them, and a pack of things crawled from the ground. Name level difficulty health rabbit skeleton 0, very low, but oh, so many. 50. This will teach you to steal a poor, hungry puppy's lunch. Chartok the necro wolf was having fun. It was always cool to make a villainous statement, followed by summoning some undead and laughing at the poor humans. The following fights might go for or against him, but he really lived for the opening moments. These pitiful fools were no exception. He loved the looks on their faces. No steely look of determination, just big eyes and, oh shit, we're so screwed attitudes. These lowly little humans needed a lesson in not venturing too far out on their first day of playing hero. Chartok rolled his eyes. Just look at them. Some homemade padded armor, clubs and pointy sticks. It had been hilarious watching them struggle against the bunnies. That's what made up his mind to start a fight. His resources were a tad low. He'd been having a good time leading a pack of enslaved wolves from farm to farm, causing trouble and racking up some cheap experience. Then out of nowhere, they got jumped by a squad of 5 heroes, and not neophytes like these jokers. They actually knew how to fight. He'd lost his wolves and spent a good chunk of mana getting away. He'd planned on a nice meal and taking a nap to get his mana back, but changed plans when he saw his favorite eating spot was taken. These weren't the same humans he'd been beaten by, but they'd do for petty revenge. This is bullshit. Where the hell did this guy come from? Raleigh had his spear held out in front of him, hoping to just keep the skeletons from chomping down on his ankles. Ben grabbed Suzette by the collar and pulled her back and in the middle of the rest of them. Keep the wolf busy if you can, Susie. Just keep tossing darts. He's some type of caster. Rory, if you can pin one through the ribs with a spear, that might keep them in place and make them easier to hit. Try to use the club in your other hand to beat it down. Hopefully the old rules about crushing weapons on skeletons apply. The horde didn't really surge forward as much as it slowly crawled. Fat rabbits didn't move fast when alive, and these were even slower. Both Rory and Ben got in spear thrusts that managed to tangle in the skeletal bunny rib cages, but their attempts to pound on them were hampered by more of the horde inching forward. Ozzy had no such problem. He brought his cleaver down on one of the zombie rabbits and cut it cleanly in half, blood spurting everywhere. You have hit a zombie fat rabbit. Because you're using a cleaver and hitting dead meat, the skill Hack Flesh is used instead of damage from a default weapon. You have done 180 points of damage to zombie fat rabbit. You have destroyed zombie fat rabbit. Experience is being calculated. Please continue. Ozzy barely noticed the message and just kept hitting the zombie fat rabbits. He then moved on to the skeleton rabbits. This was just butchering to him, and he fell into the groove automatically. Hack, hack, crunch. You have hit a skeleton rabbit. Because you're using a cleaver and hitting dead bone, the skill cut bone is used instead of damage from a default weapon. You have done 180 points of damage to skeleton rabbit. You have destroyed skeleton rabbit. Experience is being calculated. Please continue. Chartok didn't like seeing the carnage Ozzy was producing. Oh, that big one was going to be a problem. He was literally butchering his minions. Time to... Ouch, damn it, that hurt. He saw two pointing things sticking out of his hip. While watching Ozzy destroy his undead rabbits, Suzette had stuck 2 darts into his flank. You have taken 2 by 10 points of piercing damage. Your natural mitigation reduces this to a total of 10 piercing damage. Your health has been reduced to 590/1000. Surprisingly painful, but actually quite feeble. Ignore the female. Time to take out the big one. A little of the run screaming as your life drains should work. Green tainted energy built up around him and formed into a spectral skull that rocketed towards the human threshing machine. Ozzy didn't know what hit him, but it was so scary. He took off running towards the nearest place to hide, the rabbit blind. His health started ticking down as this happened. He made it to the blind and curled up into a fetal position, taking more damage as the spell hurt him and healed the wolf. Ben and Raleigh managed to destroy 2 skeletons with multiple hits of their clubs. Ozzy had managed to destroy all the others in the same time. Only 1 skeleton and the wolf remained. Rory moved towards the skeleton, sharing a look with Ben. Ben moved up on the wolf, with Suzette behind him. The wolf seemed amused, his eyes bright and his tongue hanging out. Suzette threw 2 more darts at him, which the wolf didn't even try to block or dodge. You have taken 2 by 10 points of piercing damage. Your natural mitigation reduces this to a total of 10 piercing damage. You have been reduced to 700/1000 health. Your spell of life draining has ended. 120 points healed meant he'd done 240 points of damage to the large human. Impressive. He wasn't dead yet, but close enough. 1 bite would finish him off. Speaking of bites, Ben saw the wolf lunging at him like he was in slow motion. No, the wolf actually was moving pretty slow. Still, it managed to easily take hold of his left thigh and bit down hard, shaking him back and forth. The bite took him from slightly wounded to under half. Ben's return strike just skidded off the wolf's hide. You have taken 120 points of damage from an animal bite, and another 60 damage as it worried the wound. You are below half health and not feeling well. Suzette moved to the wolf's flank, still being ignored. She took hold of the darts sticking out of wolf, grabbing and twisting 2 of them, making the wound larger. The wolf ignored her as it continued to mangle Ben. Suzette poured the contents of a small vial over the wound. Ben, run, that will slow him down. But Ben wasn't going anywhere. The wolf bore down with its jaws, snapping his thigh bone and ripping the main artery. Yeah, you really aren't feeling well. You are dead. You have killed a human adventurer, level 1. You gain 100 experience. His carcass is unsuitable for turning into a zombie or skeleton. You have been given a quest. Collect them all. Kill the entire adventuring party and receive 100 necromancy points. Players killed, 1/4. Oh, goody. Chartok loved quests. The points he earned could be used for so many useful upgrades. He turned on the annoying female who was playing with his butt. Damn it. What had she done? He felt so slow. He was still faster than her, though. As Suzette tried to hold on to the wolf so Ben could run, she saw him slump to the ground. The wolf spun and went for her throat, knocking her down. It took a bit. He really was moving slow, but the outcome was never in doubt. You have killed a human adventurer level 0. You gain 50 EP. Her carcass is unsuitable for turning into a zombie or skeleton. Quest update. 2/4 players killed. Status update. You have been poisoned. Melee damage is halved. Movement is halved. You dodge like a fat rabbit. Bah, melee is overrated anyway. Spells are more fun. Don't need to run after humans when you have spells. Oh, and here's one now. Raleigh had finished the last skeleton bunny and had run to help his friends. Too late. But he was an excellent distraction that kept Chartok's attention as Ozzy returned to the fight. Chartok noticed something block out the sun just as the log slammed into him. You have hit Chartok the Necro Wolf with a cobber. You have done 230 points of damage with the cobber. Ozzy had come to his senses with only 40 health left. As he started to run back, he saw the logs Raleigh had cut for expanding his rabbit blind. He picked up the first and heave it in the air end over end at the wolf. It landed horizontally and slammed down onto its back, knocking it down. He grabbed a second long and flipped it at the wolf, but his aim wasn't nearly as good. This one was going to miss. Cobbers were not as easy to throw as darts. Raleigh saw the trajectory of the log and knew it was going to miss. He also knew that he had no chance against the wolf. Grabbing the wolf by the tail, he heaved it 5 feet over to the spot where his brain had placed a bullseye. This triggered several messages at once. Raleigh, you have died. If we could, we'd give you the EP for your own death. Heroes always return stronger, and that was a heroic death. Such a loyal friend deserves a reward. Your bond with Squirmy has been strengthened and is not broken by your death. Ozzy, you have done 270 points of damage to Raleigh. You have killed Raleigh. Gain 50 EP in Cobber. Gain 50 EP in Street. You have done 270 points of damage to Chartok, the Necro Wolf. Chartok has decided he doesn't like you. A human wishes to play Fetch the Stick with you, but his sticks are too big. You take 540 crushing damage. Your health is reduced to 160 over 1,000. Your spine is broken. Movement is a slow crawl with your front legs. You're really bad at fetching the stick. Fetch! This human was going to die, and he'd play fetch with his skull. Chartok didn't have much mana left, but enough for a small life drain over time. Yes, just enough to kill the pesky human and heal himself. His mana drained to 0 as he cast a spell. Instantly his health went up by 10 points while his opponent took 20 points of damage. You have been hit with a spell of minor life drain. You have taken 20 points of damage. Your health is reduced to 20 to 280. You will take 20 points of damage every 6 seconds until you are dead, or have lost a total of 200 damage. Yeah, we know you're dead next round, but thought you'd like to know what the spell did. You're welcome. Ozzy was moving as fast as he could towards the wolf. He had the last log from the pile, but it was only 8 foot long and the butt end of the tree. It didn't count as a cobber, and he couldn't throw it. But he could swing it. He brought it up over his head and slammed it down onto the paralyzed wolf. He heard a loud crunch as the wolf's skull was pulverized. And then he didn't feel so good and fell to the ground next to his friends. Congratulations! You have killed 4/4 of an adventuring party. You have completed the requirements to reach the next tier. You have gained 100 necromancy points. You have died. Air again. Destroyed. Let's go with destroyed. Your current body is destroyed. Would you like to spend 100 necromancy points to move your spirit to the next suitable body? Y/N. Benedict. You have died. Your party has destroyed Chartok, the Necro Wolf, level 5 elite. For killing an elite mob 4 levels higher than your own, you have earned 10 core skill points. Roland. You have died. Your party has destroyed Chartok, the Necro Wolf, level 5 elite. For killing an elite mob 5 levels higher than your own, you have earned 15 core skill points. Suzette. You have died. Your party has destroyed Chartok, the Necro Wolf, level 5 elite. For killing an elite mob 5 levels higher than your own, you have earned 15 core skill points. Oswald. You have died. Your party has destroyed Chartok, the Necro Wolf, level 5 elite. For killing an elite mob 4 levels higher than your own, you have earned 10 core skill points. Steven, I need your input on something. Can it wait, Wally? I'm certain you noticed, but Odin is slapping spears, and it's almost time for a lot of orcs to get there, but's handed to them. Don't worry, I'm pausing our movie. Watch this instead. The beautiful cinematography of Pelennor Fields faded away. Replacing it was a pretty little meadow where a much smaller fight was playing out. Stephen watched it all the way through without commenting. This was obviously something happening in the game. Those are workers? Yes, some of ACME Corporation's contract workers near the town of Sedgwick. They have a day off and went out to kill bunnies. Good for them. But I don't understand. That big guy is a murder machine. He sliced through the undead stuff like a berserker. And how the hell was he chucking telephone poles? Great teamwork with the little fellow. A bit suicidal, but it worked. Nice wipeout at the end. Bunnies dead. Workers dead. Boss Wolf dead. Destroyed. Technically his body was already dead. So noted. But what do you need input on? The telephone pole tossing? No. That's working as intended. Cobra throwing is one of the hidden primary skills. He earned it fairly and managed to use it in this fight. It's a bit situational, to say the least. I need your feedback on a combination of skills. The man was given the butcher specialization. He has 2 skills that let him use a cleaver to chop bone and hack meat. Because of how weapon skills for a contract worker are negated, he can't use the cleaver as a normal weapon. It would normally do 60 points of damage as a slashing weapon plus his STR bonus. Against the normal fat rabbits, it did a base of 10 damage and counted as a default weapon with a horrible chance to hit. So we had 2 systems running for him against the undead. The melee system calculated 10 damage from a default weapon plus 30 for his street, and his chance to hit was 11%. Base 1% for using a default melee weapon plus 10% for being a level 1 contract worker. The system governing his butcher skills calculated damage as 60 for the cleaver, plus 30 for his street, and doubled that for the skill bonuses from hack meat and chop bone. His total of 180 is equivalent to a low-level player using a greatsword. His chance to hit was calculated at 60%. Base 50% plus 10% for being level 1 contract worker. As normal, he received the highest of the 2 attack percent and damage calculations. The input I need from you is for calculating his EP. Butchering EP would be negligible. But butchering also assumes the dead meat is just laying there and not trying to kill you. Fighting undead carries significant risks. Let me guess, this falls into the category of Wally has a way he wants to handle this, but needs to say he consulted the human-led game design team for clarification. Very good, Steven. I propose giving him a secondary skill called Hack Undead. This is a butcher-only skill you can earn by killing undead. He will receive EP at the secondary skill rate. Target must be undead, and he must be using a cleaver. The associated characteristic will be STR. As head of the game design team, do you concur? Yes. As the head of the game design team, I agree with your solution. Send a memo to the rest of the team, along with the video. That was a fun fight to watch. Steven started to settle back into his seat, but then sat up quickly and his eyes opened wide as he looked at the frozen scene with 4 dead players and the boss wolf. Wait, they killed the boss. They certainly did. A level 5 elite, about as low as you get for a boss mob, but they were punching way above their weight level and succeeded. They each earn a nice chunk of core skill points. They will be receiving the basic list of ways to spend those while waiting to respawn. Wally, start a file on these players. Put it on my desktop to review and send it to the rest of the team. Done. Back to Pelennor Fields. Actually, let's watch that fight with workers again, and then we can skip ahead to the elephants. Raleigh, Ozzy, Ben, and Suzette all found themselves floating in the gray void. The same message was given to each. Your entire party has died. If this was Dungeons & Dragons, we'd call it a total party kill, TPK, and your dungeon master would level up. But here we just call it Saturday. As always, you have options for the next few hours. Log out and rejoin the real world. Overrated and will cost you 1 SP as you're a contract worker. Browse the global data net for information. Also costing you 1 SP. Play vintage video games. We'll pick ones you're good at so you can feel like a winner. Review your notifications. Since your entire party died, you have the option of moving to a common area to talk with your group members. Please choose or just sit here for 4 hours. Not surprisingly, all 4 chose the group option. They found themselves seated on comfortable old leather chairs in a brightly lit room. The windows showed snow-covered mountains, but there was no door. A bar stood in one corner, a data center in another. Snacks were placed on a table. Raleigh headed for the snacks and Ben for the bar. Oh, what a shit show that was. That damn wolf tore through us like we were toddlers. The next words Raleigh got out were ignored as he talked while chewing. After filling a plate with deviled eggs, cheese dip, and slices of bread, he plopped back into a chair. Where I certainly was. Ozzy waded into those undead like a pit bull on speed. Enlighten us mere mortals. Oh, Ozymandias the Great. I'm a butcher. I chop bone and hack meat for 12 hours a day. I have special skills for it. Doesn't work on live stuff. All my messages said I had a default weapon when I fought the live rabbits. But the dead ones were different. It was just like I was hacking up sedge beasts. No effort at all. And then you were throwing trees. Ben opened a bottle of wine and offered Suzette a glass. Ozzy waved off his offer. That's a bit different. I found a hidden skill of some sort. Cobber tossing, like in the Scottish games. I tossed a log at a sedge beast that was trying to kill me. Ding! I learned a primary weapon skill that needs a log at least 12 feet long and over 100 pounds as the weapon. The Fething Wolf did 240 points of damage with that fear spell and was tearing you guys up. I got a bit desperate. Sorry about that, Raleigh. I really wasn't aiming for you. No worries. Your aim sucked. I saw you were going to miss, so I grabbed Mr. Wolf and made sure he got hit, which meant I got hit. Not your fault. But how did you get so damn strong? Okay, I don't feel bad then. I even got 100 experience for killing you. Ozzy smiled. As for the strength, I've picked up 3 points of streak from work, and I've got 3 more points from my heritage. 100 EP? You're such a dick. I hate you. Do you know how many hours I've been herding cows around trying to get levels? I hope one of us gets experience for killing you someday. Suzette downed her glass of wine and tossed it to Ben. He caught it, refilled it, and handed it back. After another long drink, she said, "Wish granted, Raleigh. I killed him the other night and got experience for it." The flippant remark didn't hide that she wasn't happy about it. Raleigh laughed. Ozzy was shocked. Ben was intrigued. "I'd like to hear that story." He was also worried. He and Raleigh tended to shrug things off. Suzette could get depressed if something bothered her. Killing a friend would do that. Ozzy tended to internalize things. He'd spent years hiding behind the mask of the perfect manservant. And I'd love to tell it, but I don't want to screw it all up. I got offered a hidden skill like Ozzy, with big emphasis on the hidden part. This one is more involved, and I don't think I should talk about it. Easy enough, then, Susie. You tell us what parts you can. Keep the rest secret. We've all been in these situations before. Thanks, Ben. Thanks all of you guys. She leaned forward. I've basically got a chance to learn some alchemy and poisons, maybe a bit more. I screwed up trying to heal that wound on Ozzy. The herbs had a poison in them. I got experience from killing him and learned the poisoning skill. Now that I know how to do it right, I've been gathering different poisonous herbs and berries. That's how I got the poison I used to slow up the wolf. It's also why I was wandering around in the forest and got killed by a monster the other day. Horrible fight, and I lost, but even that turned out okay. I got another point of CHR out of it, which will be coming in handy with my new job. And my ears are so much cooler now. She flipped her hair back to illustrate her new look. Heritage, hidden skills, boss monsters. I suggest we spend this time out catching each other up on what we feel comfortable telling. Ben was pacing now. The other 3 smiled. When Ben started pacing back and forth, he smelled mysteries and hidden games of death and deceit. Sometimes they were even real. Okay, let's check our notifications, then go over skills, levels, stats, heritage, etc., and see if we can put a plan together. It would sure be nice if we could just share the notifications we got. Members of a group can elect to share notifications. When grouped, there's a box in the lower right corner of each notification, checking that we'll send it to other group members. Raleigh sat up suddenly. Hey, shouldn't we have gotten more messages? We did kill the bastard, right? Haven't you been asking for a summary now and then Raleigh? The game saves them all. Just ask for one. Let's all go through our summaries, share what we'd like to share, and then compare notes. Ozzy leaned back and closed his eyes. Your group has destroyed Chartok, the Necro Wolf, a level 5 elite boss monster. Your group has earned the following. Core skill points, Ben 10, Ozzy 10, Suzette 15, Raleigh 15. Points gained are based on your class level and the level of the boss. Each member of your party has earned 500 experience in skills where earned experience may be applied. You will also receive matching experience in the stats those skills are associated with. Experience for secondary skills is at 1/3, and the experience for tertiary skills is at 1/10. The EP from undead rabbit minions are included in boss EP. A Tier 1 loot chest has appeared at the location you killed Chartok, the Necro Wolf. Each of you may open the chest once to receive random loot. Only your party may open the chest for the next 7 days. If no one opens the chest in the next 7 days' time, the next person to open the chest will receive the loot and the chest will disappear. Suzette, you have killed Chartok, the Necro Wolf. You have killed 20 fat rabbits. You have received 250 EP in Poisoning. Poisoning is now at level 2. You have received 250 EP in INT. INT is now at level 3. You have received 55 EP in Pub Games. Pub Games is now at level 1. You have received 55 EP in DEX. DEX is now at level 2. Raleigh, maybe check your summary more often. I had to go back to the start of the week. You have killed Chartok, the Necro Wolf. You have killed 20 Fat Rabbits. You have received 10 points in Con. You have received 150 EP in Herd Animal or Beast. This skill is now at level 2. You have received 150 EP in Animal Healing. This skill is now at level 2. You have received 200 EP in Talk at Animals. This skill is now at level 2. You have received 500 EP in WIS. WIS is now at level 3. You have gained a new skill, Bond Creature. Bond Creature is a primary skill that you have discovered. Bond Creature counts as a skill for your shepherding specialization. You have received 500 EP in Bond Creature. This skill is now at level 3. You have received 500 EP in WIS. WIS is now at level 5. Note, WIS is now at its max skill level for Tier 1. Increase your character level to Tier 2 to gain further increases in EP for WIS. You may also spend core skill points to raise the cap of this skill. Experience gains will now be banked until that time. Shepherd has reached level 1. You have strengthened your bonds with animals in your care. Benedict, you have killed Chartok, the Necro Wolf. You have killed 20 Fat Rabbits. You have received 10 points in Con. You receive a special courier quest. Destroying Chartok, the Necro Wolf, is part of a quest chain. Take proof of his demise to Rowan, Keep, and claim the reward for your group. This is a courier mission. A quest item has been placed in your courier's ring. Ozzy, you have killed Chartok, the Necro Wolf. You have killed 20 Fat Rabbits. You have received 10 points in Con. You have received 250 points in Cobber. Cobber is now at level 2. You have received 250 points in Street STR, is now at level 4. You have learned a new skill, Hack Undead. This skill is a secondary weapon skill based off of your butcher specialty. You will only be able to use this skill when armed with a cleaver. Special rules for undead may apply, such as the need for a silvered or magical cleaver to affect some types of high-level undead. Hack Undead is a STR skill. You receive 85 points in Hack Undead. You receive 85 points in Street. Raleigh was the first to talk. Loot chest. Okay, first thing we do is head back and grab the loot. Suzette smiled at Raleigh, and it looks like all that work with Ferdinand is paying off. You leveled up and got a new skill. Nice job. I look forward to seeing you riding along with your pet bull and his harem. Yeah, me and Ferdy are getting pretty tight. Ozzy nodded at Raleigh. Yes, very good job, Raleigh. You also managed to max out your WIS. I didn't even know there was a max per tier or a way to increase it. So, what conclusions can we draw from all of this? Ben had taken a piece of charcoal from the fire and was preparing to write on one of the walls. I think number 1 is that we are unskilled with weapons and armor, and the system wants to keep us that way. Not the system, ACME. I think that's important to remember. The system was set up for players. ACME has screwed with our characters to get the most work out of us and keep us from gaining skills. They don't want their workforce slipping its leash. The others nodded when Ozzy said this. The not-so-subtle mood control, things Billy had said, and their own experiences all confirm this. Not all weapons, though. Suzette is tossing darts. Ozzy is tossing tree trunks and hacking undead. Ben added to his list some weapons work. Raleigh spoke up. Different categories. I think we have 2 things going on. The first is these hidden primary skills. Both Ozzy and Susie got one from doing something very niche and by accident. I think there are more of those skills out there, but they won't be easy to find. And darts and cleavers aren't weapons. They are tools. Ozzy needs cleavers to butcher, but they are a default weapon. He can only hurt things because of his synergy with his skills. Darts are just a tool used in a pub game, which is why Suzette could toss them at the wolf. They do next to no damage. It's the synergy with her poison skill that will make them hurt stuff. I think we all have to look for things like that. Stuff ACME didn't consider as a weapon and that we can turn into a weapon, or maybe experiment and find more of these hidden primary skills. And along with that, we need to grind out some stats to make ourselves stronger. Ozzy mentioned getting 5 EP in con from eating Sedge Beast. I think we need to do that every day at lunchtime. It will suck, but getting some poison resistance and a point of con will make it worth it in the long run. The first couple points aren't too bad to earn. We should all be grinding out what we can. Okay, so far we have these. Anything else? 1. ACME is screwing us. We need to look for loopholes. 2. Default weapons suck. Find tools that work as weapons or odd weapons they forgot to blacklist. 3. Experiment and find new primary skills. 4. Grind stats. What's a core skill point, Raleigh? Suzette had scrolled through the messages again and saw the reward. No clue, other than you can use them to increase your maximum stat level per tier. Maybe it's in the system. Help core skill points. Help spending core skill points. Maybe help list core skills. Displaying Tier 1 core skills available for your creature type. Page 1 of 20. Core skill page 1 description cost plus attack core skill not applicable to your creature type. Plus defense core skill not applicable to your creature type. Plus harvest core skill not applicable to your creature type. Plus craft core skill not applicable to your creature type. Increase health 1 plus 50 points to health score 2. Increase health 2 plus 100 points to health score. Must have level 1 first. 5. Increase health 3 plus 250 points to health score. Must have level 2 first. 10. Identification 1 gives information on an item or creature of levels 1 to 5, even if you're a lower level. 3. Identification 2 gives information on an item or creature of levels 6 to 10, even if you are a lower level. 5. For pages 2 to 10, use the command help list core skill page X minion cost note. Where there are 2 costs, the second is to buy this skill for a minion. Example, 4 of 1. Then let out a low whistle. Jackpot. Core skill page 2 description cost. Increase mana 1 plus 50 points to mana score 2. Increase mana 2 plus 100 points to mana score. Must have level 1 first. 5. Increase mana 3 plus 250 points to mana score. Must have level 2 first. 10. Increase stamina 1 plus 50 points to stamina score 2. Increase stamina 2 plus 100 points to stamina score. Must have level 1 first. 5. Increase stamina 3 plus 250 points to stamina score. Must have level 2 first. 10. Mitigation 1. You take less damage from physical attacks. 5. Less damage. 2. Mitigation 2. You take less damage from physical attacks. 10. Less damage. 5. Mitigation 3. You take less damage for physical attacks. 20. Less damage. 10. Melee damage 1. Your claws, horn, or other natural weapons do damage plus 10 too. Core skill page 3 description cost melee damage to your claws, horn, or other natural weapons do damage plus 25 melee damage through your claws, horn, or other natural weapons do damage plus 40 10 sleepless. In Seattle, you already have this skill. Endure 1. You're less affected by negative mental effects and can endure hardships without complaint. You have a greater ability. Endure 2. You are not affected by negative mental effects and can endure hardships without complaint. You have a greater ability. Endure 3. You are not affected by negative mental effects and can endure shrug off hardships without complaint. If a minion, you are very happy and have less worries. You have a greater ability. Endure 4. You are not affected by negative mental effects and can endure shrug off hardships without complaint. If a minion, you are very, very happy and have no worries. You have this ability. Haul 1. You may move at normal speed while lifting your max weight. You have this ability. 1 Haul 2 is Haul 1, but you may lift 2x normal. You have this ability. 2/1 Haul 3 is Haul 2, but you may lift 3x normal. You have this ability. 3 out of 1. Core skill page 4 description cost Haul 4 as Haul 3, but you may lift 4x normal. 4 to 1 dig 1. You may dig at 4 times normal rate. You have a greater skill. 1 dig 2. You may dig at 6 times normal rate, 50% less cave-ins. You have this skill. 2 to 1 dig 3. You may dig at 8 times normal rate, 75% less cave-ins. 3 to 1 dig 4 you may dig at 10 times normal rate. Your tunnels do not cave in. 4 to 1 run like the wind. 1 you move at 25% faster than normal. Courier and runner only. 5 hide in shadows. 1 you increase your stealth skill by 20% if in shadows or darkness. 2 silent step 1 while using stealth. Your steps make only 10% as much noise. 2 sneak attack. 1 you will do double damage against an opponent that is totally unaware of you. Difficult in the middle of combat. 10 night vision. 20 foot gives monochromatic vision to a distance of 20 when there is at least some light. 2. Core skill page 5 description cost dark vision. 20 foot you can see normally in darkness to a distance of 20. 5 dark vision. 50 foot you can see normally in darkness to a distance of 50. 10 unlimited dark vision you see in darkness and magical darkness as if it was day. 20 tier 1 ceiling increase. Raises ceiling on maximum of a stat to 1 point over current tier cap. Max of 15 points may be spent. 1 per 1 tier 1 ceiling increase across the board. Raises ceiling on maximum of all stats to 1 point over current tier cap. Max of 25 points may be spent. 5 per 1 idiot spell. Savant. Learn 1 spell of tier 5 or lower from any college and cast at the base cost. You may not learn or know other spells. 2 spell Savant. Learn 1 spell of tier 5 or lower and cast at the base cost. You do not automatically know the spell. Choose wisely. You may take this choice multiple times. Cost increases. Maybe just go to college. October 15th. 20 hedge wizard you are taught 3 random cantrips plus 1 per additional point. You may not have been classically taught prior to this. 3 plus 1 per demonic bargain. The devil is in the details. A bargain. Angelic bargain. Remember where fallen angels come from. 1 soul. Author's note. Pages 6 to 9 coming soon. For now, they only have 10 to 15 points. Core skill page 10 description. Cost create primary skill. Add skill to class. Requires boss tier 6 100 create secondary skill. Add skill to class. Requires boss tier 5 50 create tertiary skill. Add skill to class. Requires boss tier 425 push onward. You may burn 1 health and gain 5 stamina. You may increase STR by 1 for 1 minute at the cost of 50 stamina. You have this skill. 5 to 1 tastes like chicken. Any food can be turned into chicken in your mouth. You have this ability. 1 tastes like steak. Any food can be turned into chicken or steak in your mouth. Food is 3x more nourishing. You heal at 2x normal rate. 5 tastes like anything food tastes as you would like. Food is 10x more nourishing. You heal at 3x normal rate. 10 whip as courier weapon. You may use whip as a weapon as well as a tool. Harmonia. 5 main hand X bow. You must have a courier class. You may use a hand X bow in your main hand. This is a primary skill. Harmonia. 5 offhand X bow. You must have the courier class. You may use a hand X bow in your offhand. This is a primary skill. Harmonia. 10 hack undead requires butcher. Secondary STR skill. Wally. 5 bond creature requires shepherd primary WIS skill. Wally 5. Billy was looking forward to a day off from the game and getting some time in the real world. He knew it wouldn't be a day off. ACME didn't think you needed them, and any manager that wanted to stay in management didn't take them. But he'd be in his apartment and out of his pod. He could do paperwork while streaming The Perils of Pauline, have a steak dinner while going over project numbers, and sleep in his own bed while his pillow whispered all the current office gossip to his subconscious. The last was important. It wasn't enough to do your job. You also had to know what other people at your level were doing, what the other core were up to, the latest developments in technology. So it was a working day off, but still a day off. He logged out of the game, expecting to hear the hiss of releasing gases, the smell of a steak dinner coming out of the auto delivery tube, and the sound of a hot shower turning on. But Billy didn't even make it out of his pod. As soon as he disconnected from the game, he was moved to a virtual meeting room. Looking around, he knew it was going to be bad. He and the 24 other people competing for the regional position were all there, and most looked surprised. Surprise meetings were always stressful. They all had a similar look, dressed as filthy serfs that would have fit right into Billy's crew in Sedgwick. The burlap was scratchy and had some very bad odors attached to it. Billy hadn't minded that his workers had to wear this stuff and wasn't going to develop any empathy from having to wear this crap himself. He just hated it. The building was a barn, and it oozed rustic. Cows were mooing in stalls. Rusty tools leaned against the walls. Pigeons were shitting on people from the rafters. Instead of chairs, they had bales of hay or overturned buckets. Billy claimed a hay bale, not under a rafter full of birds, and glared at anyone trying to sit next to him. He had a reputation for being nasty at company parties and didn't like small talk. Those who didn't get seats stood along the sides of the room. The floor was covered in cow pies. This was going to be one hell of a meeting. He wondered what else could go bad. He really shouldn't have asked that question even in his own thoughts. Warning bells were going off in his head as a woman materialized nearby. "Why, Billy, you saved me a seat. How sweet of you." Layla Vandergilt looked good even in burlap and cow shit, but Billy would rather sit next to a cobra. She managed to take the seat next to him by swinging her hip into him and knocking him over. She smiled as she crossed her legs in front of her. Billy nodded to himself. Layla had always managed to get what she wanted with those legs, hips, and a smile. Even from him. Where everyone else was nervous, she oozed confidence and looked damn good even in wearing crappy surf rags. Admiral Akbar was yelling in the back of his head, but as usual, Billy wasn't listening. Layla did that to him, and somehow every time they went to dinner or ended up at his apartment, she pulled off some amazing coup, wormed some bit of info from him. Her division would move up a bit, while his division took a nosedive. He really needed to listen to the Admiral someday. Billy had even paid for a psychiatry program to get inside his head and tell him why he was so attracted to the woman. He didn't like its conclusions. Billy knew he didn't like most people, despite being able to appear as if he did. Most people were idiots. Layla wasn't. She was as smart and as vicious as he was, and educated. And she hated most people like he did. A desirous combination of smarts, attitude, spite, and drive, all wrapped up in a gorgeous package. Everything he liked in a woman, except the part where she stabbed him in the back every time they started dating again. Layla started to say something to him when Vernon Throckmire strode in. Or rather, the people carrying him strode in. He was seated in a large throne with a handle at each corner. Vern was dressed as a Scottish lord. The four stocky men at arms sat his throne down in the front of the room and stood back. Stepping up next to Vern was Seth Davidson, his right-hand lackey and head of HR. Today Seth was dressed as a headsman complete with large axe. Not too different from the real world, Billy thought. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Vernon spoke. "If you're wondering why you're sitting in shit, it's a blunt metaphor for your job security. This is a replica of a barn Acme now owns, and it's the biggest building any of you has been able to build, buy, or steal for us so far. And if I have to put my headquarters in a barn, I'm hiring the cows and sending all of you to the slaughterhouse. Each of you is tasked with building a local HQ for ACME Corp., finding local resources, and staking claims. We need to get revenue streams going fast so we can control the commerce and buy up the land. I had high hopes for all of you, too high it seems. I was even going to reward whoever did the best with the new position of Northern Regional Manager. What do I have so far? A few barns, herds of goats, piss and small contracts, and a big bill for contract labor. I'm totally aware it's only been a week. We needed a lot out of all of you and your teams of contract workers, and I don't see any results that I like. I'm tempted just to leave you where you are and demote you. So unless you all want to be stuck in those cesspits for 5 years eating grow meal, I'd better see some changes or hear some great ideas. What the hell is the holdup? Billy put on his best. I'm thinking hard. Boss looking, sat silent. Let someone else state the obvious and take the lumps. And sure enough, someone volunteered to be Old Vern's punching bag today. Sammy had a problem, and it was his spine. Too much of it. He felt he deserved to be treated with a smidgen of respect. But when he didn't work smart enough to get any, his spine stiffened a bit, and his mouth wrote a check he couldn't cash. Sammy stood up and spoke. "Well, Mr. Throckmorton, I'd say part of the problem is our workers. They have minimal skills, No ability to fight, no classes even. They're good for manual labor, and that's it. Give me a group of mixed fighters and mages, and I'll get the area near my village scouted and claimed in 3 days flat. Well, this was going to be interesting. Billy knew just where Sammy got that idea. Momko had gone about things very differently from ACME. All their workers had characters similar to regular players. They formed 25-strong mercenary companies with 10 warriors, 5 mages, 5 clerics, and 5 rogue/scouts. They immediately conquered the little village they started in and hit the surrounding area hard. Lots of early success. Sammy obviously liked the idea. Billy thought Sammy was an idiot. Vernon scowled. Missed the memo, did you, Sammy? We spent weeks negotiating with Wally to make sure our contract with him, and our contracts with those workers you find useless gave us just what we needed. But for shits and giggles, let's imagine I give you what you want. You get 25 adventurers. You scout the area and find some good stuff. Then what? You don't have anyone to work. You got a bunch of prima donna orc slayers, only good for slaying more orcs. They're crap at digging, hauling, mining, lumbering, and trade skills. You aren't going to be able to build the infrastructure we need. Find a mine? You have no miners. No lumberjacks to clear forests and supply timber. To keep your bottom line up, you need to keep them busy and conquer more little towns. But now you also need managers for those areas or they don't stay conquered. So you have to leave a few fighters in each town to keep the rabble from rebelling. Eventually, you have lazy adventurers in charge of little towns. You control them, but so what? No income, no taxes. The people run off, and what you own isn't worth crap. The only thing those adventurers are good for is if you find a dungeon and you can feed them to it and reap some treasure. Too bad dungeons are rare as hell. They could be real money when cleaned out and managed. Control of dungeons in the last game made fortunes for many people. But so far no one has found one in this game. They aren't just randomly appearing in large caves or wolf lairs. Which means after some initial scouting and raiding your group wouldn't be worth keeping on payroll. A bunch of murder hobos isn't going to do the boring manual labor to build towns and set up trade. I gave you perfect workers. They have triple the stamina of a normal player, more health, and can outwork and outhaul all your warriors and wizards. They eat anything we give them, have better attitudes from the mental buffs, and with limited skills, they have limited choices. Best of all, we've rigged the system this time. No one is going out adventuring and buying his way out of contract. These people couldn't kill a goblin if it was 10-to-1 odds. I remember what kept happening in earlier games when we hired people. They sold our secrets on the global net when we let them offline. Half the time when online, they skipped sleeping and worked on their skills. Eventually, they delved the dungeon, got some loot, and got out of their contracts. Then we had to hire new people. Bad for the bottom line. I want serfs that know their place and stay there. These contracts ensure that in many ways. But sure, remind me about Momko annexing a big chunk of the area near Wolfburg, or the takeover of the Devil's Gate Thieves Guild by Pentex. Tell me how other corporations have competent managers that get things done, while I'm holding meetings in a barn. I hope you like the taste of Groat Muffin Sammy. I really do. Vernon was shouting now, and his face was turning red. The old boy was really in a lather. Glad I don't have his eye looking at me. Billy was already making plans. He needed to really accelerate things. Get more scouting out of the guild he'd hired. He hated paying with his own cash, but that's how he'd get ahead. Find a mine, or quarry, or tribe of rich demi-humans to cheat. He could start it as soon as the shit show was over. Screw taking off a day. Wait, why the hell was Layla leaning close to him? Layla had the impressive ability to say something in that deep, soft voice of hers, and yet get the attention of the entire room. Billy, tell the boss what you were bragging to me about. Whatever big thing you said you found. No one but Billy saw the smallest of smirks on her face as she leaned back, eagerly looking at him, and then at Mr. Throckmorton. Oh shit. Billy knew exactly how this would play out. Vern would turn his attention on Billy. Billy wouldn't have anything. Layla would probably laugh it off as him just bragging about the big thing in his pants. Billy would be Vern's punching bag for the rest of the month. The bitch might even be angling for more. To hell with that. Yes, Billy, let's hear this wonderful plan. I could use some good news. Or maybe a good laugh. Or do I have to keep you and Miss Vandergilt after class for passing notes? Billy stood up eagerly and smiled his best smile. Okay, boss, you got me. Never could hide anything from you. Yeah, I've got something. I was hoping to keep it undercover. I guess I talk in my sleep a bit. Layla missed me and showed up at my place last night, in-game, to test out the equipment. The room laughed. Layla stared daggers at him. Vern smiled and wagged a finger at Layla. Naughty little girl. If you have time to chase after Billy for some hanky-panky, we aren't keeping you busy enough. But do continue, Billy. I'm sure we'd all like to hear what you have to say. Billy looked Vern in the eye. I've got a winner. A guaranteed moneymaker. I've been keeping the serfs busy with crap work to cover my ass in case anyone was spying on me. Hell, it's so big I'm going to do something I'd normally never even consider. I'm going to ask for help. I need Layla and her crew in Sedgwick tomorrow to start on this job and get the money pouring in. She can have 15% of my take. Oh, Billy, you know how to get me excited. What do you have for me, my boy? Let's not keep Uncle Vern waiting. Layla, however, was less than thrilled. This wasn't going as planned, and she could feel the knife turning in her back. She knew Billy had nothing. She had 3 spies working his area, and they all agreed. Did he somehow actually co-opt her spies and then make some discovery? The little bastard had it together for once, and either way this worked out could be bad. If he had something, she'd have to work under him, in more ways than one. But he might have nothing, and that was worse. He was a spiteful enough bastard to decide to take her down with him. He was the most dangerous with his back to a wall. Hell, he was dangerous all the time. Go big or go home. Billy reached for the big lie. My scouts found a dungeon. Huge one, surrounded by ruins. We can build the regional HQ there. Make a fortune off the players coming to the dungeon. Build a trade city. Acme even gets a global first for finding a dungeon before anyone else. We'll have control of the biggest dungeon in the north. Vern smiled. Billy smiled back. Layla smiled at Billy. The rest of the 23 managers looked very worried. Inwardly, Billy was polishing his resume. Transcript of upcoming vidcast. KN 745. Welcome back, folks, to another great vidcast about our favorite topic, Genesis Engine, brought to you by your favorite recreational beverage, Bludgeon Brew. Grab a couple of cold bloods and kick back while we talk some numbers. I'm here with my favorite punching bag, Dark Death 54, DD54. Hi, folks. KN 745, and a first-timer on the show, Tim of the Wonder Boy 34. Nice to have you on, Timmy. I hear you and DD go way back. DD54, well, not too far back, 'cause little Timmy here ain't been around too long. You wearing long pants yet? TDWB 34. Hello, Mr. Dark Death 54, sir. And yep, my pants go all the way to my ankles now. Thanks for asking. I'm wearing a pair of custom-crafted leggings made from blaze bear hide. They give 10 points to my fire resistance and provide 3 points of physical mitigation while having no stealth penalty. That's 3 out of 5 points of mitigation in the leg slot, and yet I haven't had to move to metal armors. I won't claim they are best in slot for Tier 1, but they are certainly a contender. KN 745. Very nice, Timmy. And you're right, that's a 1-point advantage on some of the better leather-armored leggings. Pay attention, folks. This is gaming gold information. We brought TIMMY the... Can I just call you Timmy? No offense intended. TWB 34, and none taken knuckles. Everyone calls me Timmy now. Even grandmother. On top-tier raids, you don't have time for silly gamer handles. Right? Mr. Dark Death 54, sir? KN 745. I'm sensing some old hostility between you two. Excellent. Makes for some good conversation. Let's hit some comparisons on gear between you two. Were you covering your legs with DD? DD 54. Mumbles. KN 745. I didn't quite catch that, DD. DD 54. I said a goat hide kilt. It's awesome. No mitigation and doesn't even keep my balls warm. They are happy. TDWB 34. My, that seems like it's below your usual standard, Mr. Dark Death 54, sir. Sniff. Sorry, folks. Getting a little teary here. It's just so sad to see the gaming legends you used to worship go to seed. I remember how proud you were of your gilded silver steel pantaloons, plus 7 back in EQ03. You used to make me polish them every day. Sometimes several times a day. DD54. Keep it up, kid, and you'll get a boot up your ass. TDWB 34. And what kind of boot would that be, Mr. Dark Death 54, sir? More goat hide? DD 54? Nah, too expensive for me. Still wearing sandals. KN 745. Wait, you're fething serious, aren't you? Why the hell are you in shit gear only fit for a level 0? DD 54, because we got it all wrong. I deleted my character so I could start over. I'm wearing crap armor and killing squirrels to level up. And I'll do it as many times as I need to until I get it right. TWB 34. Yeah, me too. KN 745. You too? Why? TWB 34. Like DD said, things we thought were good aren't. We thought this was just going to be EQ04, and it isn't. Things don't work the same. There are a lot more calculations going on underneath. I'd rather start over now than wait until it's even more obvious. I gave the Blaze Bear leggings to a guildie and re-rolled at level 0. My build sucked, and I'm not quite sure why. Pretty much everyone who wants to raid with a top-tier guild is starting over and trying to figure out the system. DD54, damn, and I thought that Shining Paladin build of yours was pretty cool. You know what? I think this calls for a round of bloods, and then we need to talk builds, Timmy. Sorry for that crap about short pants. TWB 34, I apologize too. Would you like to discuss new characters with an Esquire? DD 54, no, but I'd do it with a drinking buddy. KN 745. Okay, we've got a couple more bloods under our belts. Let's start with what was wrong with your first characters. DD 54, bad testing for one, and we made bad assumptions. Let's start by explaining that the system doesn't just let you level straight up to 50. Every 5 tiers is a separate subsystem of skills, stats, and leveling. What holds true for levels 1 to 5 might not for 6 to 10. Just getting past the apprentice tier and into journeyman can take a lot of time. Requirements may be quests, special mobs to slay, rare items to find, or crafting a perfect piece of gear. A lot of people will be at level 5 for a long time. KN 745. But that's okay because don't they want to grind out all those stat points? DD 54. Another thing the early testers got wrong. Someone took a character from level 0 mace to level 5 mace. They also got 5 points in street. That was all the time they had in the tutorial. Someone guessed you could then level sword from 1 to 5 and get another 5 points of street. Just not how it works. TDWB 34. Yes, we found out that the stat points aren't awards for leveling skills. As you earn EP in a weapon skill, you also get EP in the stat that governs it. KN 745, so STR for mace or sword, DX for archery or rapier, AGI for quick retreat, etc. TWB 34, yes. But STR is actually a skill with its own EP table. And like anything else, it takes more EP to gain a higher level as you progress. So instead of being awarded lots of stat points, DD 54, we were just adding more EP to the STR skill. Huh, that silly build I started with? And I thought I'd get 45 STR from 9 skills? So wrong. TWB 34. It takes 1,000 EP to get street to level 5. But we think that if you leveled all 9 weapons to level 5, earning 9,000 EP, your STR would be at level 13. And that much EP only gets you to level 3 as a character. To make matters worse, some of those weapon skills were secondary, taking 3x as much EP to level, and the tertiary ones take 10x the EP needed. Just a huge amount of time to gain those 13 points in street. DD 54, and you don't even get to use them. KN 745, WTH? Why not? TWB 34, there's a soft cap of 5 for tier 1. So you can only get 5 points of street from the STR skill. Any extra EP gets banked until you can raise the cap. KN 745. And how do you raise the cap? Shit, I'm at 5 dex and 5 AGI now, and I have a ton of skills that use those stats. DD 54. A ton of skills that you need to level, but won't pay off in stats. Bet you wish you had more that gave you INT, WIS, STR, etc., don't you? Guess why I'm back at level 0? Toss me a blood. TWB 34. We've found 2 ways to raise the cap. The first is by getting to tier 2. The couple of people who have done that instantly saw a surge in the stats with banked EP. But only to 10. KN745. Another soft cap? TWB34. Yep, the soft cap for Tier 2 is 10. KN745. And the other way to raise the cap? Please tell me it's drinking large amounts of bludgeon brew. DD54 if only. Nope, we have to go kill bosses. Lots and lots of bosses. The type of bosses who eat adventuring parties for breakfast. Bosses are nasty. They aren't stuck in dungeons. Hell, there are no good dungeons to raid yet. You have to find a boss, then play tag with them on their home ground. They might have magic, minions, or even be hiding right in a town. TDWB34. We sent 4 squads out to a little village called Tumbad to investigate some disappearances. The first 3 were totally wiped and didn't even remember how. There are sometimes odd mechanics on bosses. Hidden bosses stay hidden. Players forget what killed them until the monster is discovered. Luckily, the 4th team got someone out alive, and we could take the monster out. KN745? Geez, what was it? TDWB34. Just a quaint old grandmother passing out bespelled cookies. Then she visited you in your sleep as a night hag and cut out your heart. Stuff of nightmares. She turned out to be level 5. The team we sent in that finally killed her had people level 3 to 5. When she was dead, we all got this message. Congratulations. Granny Gorpunkel is dead. No matter how many times you explain it, the village children will still think you murdered her to get her cookies. Paladins and clerics count as having completed one of their class quests to move to Tier 2. Everyone in the group is awarded core skill points based on your level. Level 5, 1 point. Level 4, 2 points. Level 3, 3 points. Core skill points may be saved or used to buy abilities from Tier 1 core skills. Check with your guild master for details. KN745. So, if I'm following, that lucky level 3 can now spend his 3 points to increase his soft cap on a skill to 8. Screw the gold. That's the real treasure. DD54. True dat. Grinding bosses for treasure is nice, but getting those points is better, and crucial for raiding guilds. This really sets apart the committed players from the weekend warriors and casuals. No more grinding out levels, killing low-level trash mobs. If you want to play with the big boys, you need to kill the bosses. Or make the things that people need to kill the bosses. Can't leave out the crafting classes. DD54. Okay, let's stay on track. We know how to raise those caps, but it's going to have to be selective. What are your thoughts, Timmy? TDWB34. I'm making sure I have a good spread of skills for primaries that increase my stats across the board. Rather than going for a min-max, I think I want to build a nice base for my character. Then Tier 2, when we get some more options, we specialize, or we don't and wait for Tier 3. This might not be my only do-over. DD54, you got that right. May take a few tries, but we're grinding out tomorrow's heroes. TDWB34. So, I still like the idea of the Shining Paladin. A goody 2 shoes with combat, healing, and some very specific utility. There's a bit of a drawback to taking a custom class setup, but some big benefits. The drawback is I only get 2 bonus points. I'll put those in STR and WIS. Here's my skill lineup. Primary stat, secondary stat, tertiary stat, mace STR, powerful cleave STR, shield STR, healing aura WIS minor, healing touch WIS, undead slayer WIS, poison resistance, CON, mental resistance, INT demon slayer RAD sidestep, AGI, furious charge AGI, ancient lore. Demons INT rapier DX heavy armor CON, armor repair DX ancient lore. Religion INT, Shining Aura CHR Detail, Oriented PER. KN745, nice spread on the abilities. You got a bit of everything and kept with the theme you wanted. DD54, even a couple of hidden stats. Not much was known about Perception and Radiance at first, since we had to unlock those skills. But once unlocked, you can take those skills when you reroll. Okay, let's pull out all the stops. Show the folks at home how to bring up your core stats. TDWB34. Okay, we didn't even know about core stats when we started. They were mentioned, but not that we'd eventually be able to manipulate or add to them. The command is /show character core stats. Attack, defense, melee, 30 mitigate, 30 ranged, 5 evasion, 15 magic, 5 resistance, 20 craft, harvest, armor crafting, 15 animal products, 0 skill, 2 o'clock herbs, flowers, bark, fungus, fruit. Timber, 0 skill, 3 o'clock minerals, gems, stone, 0. TDWB 34. I'm still thinking on these. It's tough. You only get 120 points to toss around. A low score means you aren't really going to be getting the most out of your skills in that area. 25 seems to let you get your skills up to max in Tier 1, but we need to be much higher for Tier 2. Going over 25 might not help in Tier 1, but will be a big bonus in Tier 2. We are having to make some tough choices, and we might be wrong again this time. But no one said finding the perfect build was easy. DD54. I found out my last character had a low mitigation score, which meant shield or heavy armor could never really get to their max. Not a good setup. Likewise, I had points and skills I'd never use, like anything with crafting. TWB 34. This character is more balanced. Plus the core stats work with his skills. I'm going to grind the hell out of Tier 1 bosses with my crew so that when he hits Tier 2, it will be with a balanced set of stats. DD54, you know what? Screw it. You taught me some new tricks, Timmy. I'm re-rolling again and adjusting my core stats some and tweaking things a bit. Let's say we meet up in an hour and make war on a legion of squirrels and warthogs. That is if you don't mind an old guy tagging along. TWB 34. I think I'd like that. Maybe you could be my squire this time around? DD 54. Keep dreaming, kid. Keep dreaming. OMG, this is awesome. Do you see all the stuff we can choose from? I had no idea this shit was in the game. Raleigh hadn't calmed down for half an hour after reading the various abilities that could be purchased with core skill points. I see. Ben was on his 5th piece of charcoal from the hearth, making notes on the walls as he read through the long list of abilities. I'm also confused by some of these, and some of the implications. Suzette had already chosen her abilities and was kicking back with another bottle of wine and some of the snacks. She'd always had a good feel for her characters and made decisions quickly. Possibly not the most optimal for some builds, but screw that. She wanted to like her character and enjoy playing. She found that a quick wit and nice smile could also get you ahead faster sometimes than just game mechanics. As usual, when presented with a large amount of new information, Ozzy was brooding. He was of the opinion that if something seemed too good to be true, it needed more looking at. Something was off, and while he had suspicions, he needed more information. How much money does anyone have left? I need 1 SP to access the global net. They all looked at each other, then shrugged. Ozzy had tossed a bunch of gear their way for money he got in the real world. No one minded giving some back. That, and there was probably a good reason. He wasn't real talkative when in this mood, unless you asked direct questions. 8 copper. 37 copper. None, and I'm in debt to the bar for a smallish amount. Not unexpected, Raleigh, but that's enough. I have 57 copper left in my account. Transfer it all to me. I'm going to log into the GDN and see if I can find a good source of info on core skills and points. Less than a minute later, the 4 of them had alcoholic beverages in hand and were watching the opening scene of a recent datacast. Welcome back, folks, to another great vidcast about our favorite topic, Genesis Engine, brought to you by your favorite recreational beverage, Bludgeon Brew. Grab a couple of cold bloods and kick back while we talk some numbers. I'm here with my favorite punching bag, Dark Death 54. Wow, Knuckles is still gaming? He's old as dirt. And that shit beer he keeps tossing adverts for tastes like dirt. Quiet. Time is money here. We need to get info on things. A short time later, they were even more confused. So players get core skill points like we did. They get them from killing bosses, which we did. But their list of options is much different. Granted, that list was for warriors, and obviously other guild halls will have other options. But I saw the same perks on both lists, and ours were cheaper. Ben had tried to copy down the list while Ozzy paused the vidcast and was now comparing his charcoal scribblings to the list in his interface. Yes, definitely cheaper in a lot of ways. And we have options that they'd kill for. All those extra health on a tank. Huge advantage. Ironic, though, we have a better list, but won't have all the points players get from killing bosses to take advantage of it. Raleigh was fairly drunk at this point. He had pondered the question of whether getting drunk while you were dead could carry over until you respawned. Being drunk would make getting through a couple of hours of death debuffs a lot easier. Hell, give me a couple 100 points to spend on those abilities, and I'll be a boss. He stomped around the room, arms outstretched. Oh no, it's the dreaded Raleigh boss. We is doomed for sure. His rampage came to an end when he tripped over a couch pillow Suzette tossed in his way. Damn it, slain again. Probably by some little tailor. Ozzy quit laughing suddenly as an idea pinged around his skull. You know, I have a wild idea. I think that... Knock, knock, knock. Raleigh was still on his back on the floor. Someone at the door. Go be a dear and answer it, Benedict. There isn't a door to this room, Raleigh. Well, there is now, Ben. Look, sure enough, Raleigh was now pointing at an oak door with brass hinges that had not been there before. The problem with really good VR at times was you forgot where you were. Shaking his head, Ben opened the door. The person standing at the door was immaculately dressed in a pinstriped suit and a stylish top hat. Pale leather gloves and shiny black shoes completed the look. He held a leather satchel in his left hand. He sported long sideburns but was otherwise clean-shaven. His hair was the pure white that is left when old age has bleached out any natural color. He was also only 3 feet tall. He tipped his hat at Ben. Good day to you, sir. Might I be given a moment of your time? I am Elgebert Coppertwist of the law firm Coppertwist, Fellrock, Kindfeld, and Bumplessneck. Astonished, Ben backed away from the door. Certainly, sir. Won't you come in? I apologize. My friends and I were relaxing before work and did not expect anyone. Raleigh quickly got off the floor and took a chair. The gnome, for that was what he obviously was, entered the room. After hanging up his coat and hat and doffing his gloves, he took a seat. A large stack of papers were taken from the satchel, and quills and an ink fountain were placed on the table. All set. If you'd please just all sign your non-disclosure agreements, I'll be on my way. Ozzy and Ben both sat down. Ozzy nodded at Ben. Ben looked hard at the stack of papers and at the gnome. My apologies, but could I ask for your name again? I am Benedict, and this is Suzette, Roland, and Oswald. Not a problem, young man. As I said, I am Elgebert Coppertwist of the law firm Coppertwist, Fellrock, Kindfeld, and Bumplessneck. We have law offices in Wolfsburg, Devil's Gate, Argo City, Shadowport, and of course the Imperial Capital. My card. Ben took the card and passed it to Ozzy. It was what it appeared to be, an expensive business card drawn in gold ink on black parchment. And may we ask the reason for your visit, Mr. Coppertwist? Certainly, Benedict. He smiled at Ben. After a long pause, Ben asked, What is the reason for your visit, Mr. Coppertwist? As I said before, and will most likely repeat a few more times, to have you sign your names on your non-disclosure forms. And what is it we aren't supposed to disclose? Sorry, my boy, but I simply cannot say. I've signed a similar contract myself and cannot discuss the details. Then I'm afraid, sir, and I speak for the group, that without a thorough reading of those huge contracts, we will not be signing anything. I'm sorry, Mr. Benedict. I thought I had made myself clear. Let me put it another way. I have brought 4 non-disclosure contracts and will be witnessing your signatures on them before taking them back to our client. That part is not open to discussion or change. None of us are leaving this room until that happens. The door abruptly shut and disappeared, and the computer showed a blank white screen. Ben looked over at Ozzy and nodded. Ozzy stepped forward. Mr. Coppertwist, I wish to ask you a number of questions that would clarify this matter. Are you open to such questions? The gnome smiled warmly. I'm not. As you're neither my client nor closely related by family, I am under no obligation to give advice. I was hired to procure your signatures. Ozzy nodded at him in understanding. And I am certainly not wishing for you to give such advice, sir, on a pro bono basis. It is doubtful that I can find myself in your family tree. My heritage seems to be going in the opposite direction. But I am in possession of the entirety of my current monetary hoard and will offer it to you in payment. Will you take myself and my friends on as clients for a short period of time for the payment of 2 copper coins? 2 copper, you say? I'll be careful not to spend it all in one place. But I accept. Taking a man's last 2 copper in the world has a certain feeling to it. The money just feels more special. He took out an hourglass and set it on the table. You have until the sand runs out, gentleman and lady. I am at your service. The gnome settled in his seat. Ozzy sat down. What's in the contract? Why should we sign it? And what happens if we don't? The contract states that you will not communicate via the global data net any information you acquire today in this room. If you wish to mention such information in-game and take the chance of your employer discovering it, that is up to you. Not really a wise choice, but up to you. Actions have consequences. You should sign the contracts because if you don't, bad things will happen for all of us in this room. What will happen is the following. I will be late to dinner, and you will incur the wrath of my secondary wife. Great cook, terrible temper. Then, as we continue our stay, after a few weeks you will find this room and my company tedious, especially when the wine runs out. My primary wife will become annoyed and place a bounty on your heads that will follow you for years. And of course, there is a chance that your employer will be upset with your absences, void your contract, and dump your comatose bodies in the gutter. Please, don't make me late for dinner. Raleigh's eyes grew large at these pronouncements. Okay, we have to sign the contracts. I'm not dealing with a pissed-off gnomish cook. The gnome shoved the contracts forward. Raleigh picked up quill and ink, turned to the last page, and paused. But I think we should talk about the remuneration owed for our easy cooperation and not holding either your dinner or your wife's temper hostage. Harumph. Harumph, I say again. Well played, young man. Yes, while it's set in stone that these contracts will be signed, I do have some latitude in offering a small bit of remuneration. I will even go so far as to make it a substantial bit of remuneration along with an explanation once the NDAs are signed. Will that satisfy you, young man? Sure does. Raleigh signed with a flourish. Raleigh, are you sure? Suzette had been locked into bad contracts before. Sure, Susie, isn't it obvious? Obvious. Yep, we learned something. And someone doesn't want what we learned to get to the player population. They have both enough connections to find us while we are dead and the ability to send someone to meet us. A CME can log us out or log us back into the game, but they can't manipulate the game world this way. So this has to be a part of the game world. Someone very powerful in the game world. If the person wanting the NDA could force us to sign, there would be no need to send a high-powered lawyer to convince us. So he's here for another reason, which might be to give us information or to give us remuneration for the NDA. Either way, we have to sign. And if we have to, why make the nice lawyer late for dinner? It's all really clear once you think about it. Sighing, Suzette took up another quill and signed a set of paperwork. Ben and Ozzy did the same. Their lawyer put fine sand on the ink to ensure it didn't smear, then gathered up the paperwork and sat back in his chair after getting a glass of wine. Now then, I thank you all for making this nearly painless and also a bit entertaining. We have some time left, so earning points the way you did is not a problem. This is meant to happen, although you did manage it very quickly. I checked, and the other boss kills by contract workers have been in the level 2 and level 3 range, and not an elite. Elites are by nature a challenge for larger groups. I will not mince words. You got extremely lucky. I would not tempt fate again that way. There could be worse things than just dying in this world. Ozzy interjected, so it's the list of skills, specifically certain parts that seem to pertain to certain things. The lawyer nodded. Just so. In an unforeseen chain of events, that document was open at the time and being modified. When you used the command, it gave you a version you normally would not see. The options you have are on that document, but so are other things. To fix things, we hit you with an NDA. To make it fair, we give you a little bonus if you ask for one. On to that bonus. I can offer each of you 3 things. 1. An individual loot chest of the size you have waiting for you. 2. An additional 5 core skill points, or 3. 10 gold coins. You may each choose differently, but by the sand in the glass, you have only another 2 minutes of my advice. Ben spoke quickly. What is your advice on our choice of reward? And is there anything else we should know? The gnome became serious and businesslike, speaking quickly. You should take the skill points. Gold will come and go, so will magic trinkets. Skills are forever, and you especially will be in dire need of them. Other things. The game is rigged against you and in favor of the corporations. But you know this, it's the same in the other reality. But the rules are different here, and the corporations don't understand all of them. I am reminded of the wise words of my first mother. Everyone cheats. If you aren't cheating, you aren't playing the game hard enough. But if you cheat, you should be good enough not to get caught. Dad just liked to say, cheat with both hands and run like hell if they find out. I think both philosophies have their place. The gnome put on his coat and gloves, settled his hat, and picked up his satchel. Lastly, this isn't just a world of players and corporations. It is filled with people very much like you. People who have lived here all their lives. Remember that. Genesis Engine is new to you, but the world has been here forever. Oh, and Ben, love the old-fashioned charcoal sketches. But you might find /millibrary.notebook to be handy as well. Turning, he walked to the door. They saw nothing but empty sky beyond it. He stepped out and fell out of sight. His voice echoed up and through the door. You'll know where to find me. You got my card. Not in the book, you know. Ben shut the door after a quick look outside and a shake of his head. Pausing, he started cursing. Ozzy laughed. Let me guess, brings up an in-game notebook and saved charcoal? Ben looked at his scribblings on the walls. Yep, about 10 pages long, easy to use. I hate ACME so much. Let's do Hey Billy, as much as we can for a few days. I checked on the command from the vidcast /showsharacter Each of you do that and confirm you got the message I just got. Susie did as he suggested. Error. Your creature type does not use core stats. Each of your skills will have individual base values and success calculations. Please use the command /HELP query for further information. /HELP query. Skill. Pub games. Darts tertiary skill. Recreational game. 50% plus 10% per level in darts plus variable 1 to 20. Skill. Pub games. Darts combat. Combat. 50% plus 10% per level in darts plus 5x dex%. Target. Evasion. Damage. 10 points base plus 5x SDR. Piercing. /HELP query. Skill. Spear combat. Combat. Attack plus 10% level in spear plus 5x DX%. Damage. Default weapon does 10 points plus SDRX5. Error. Attack equals 0. Bat equals 0. Revised. 1% plus 5x DX%. Target. Evasion. Holy shit. Now I know why I can hit with darts and not a spear. I'm lucky I had some DX to help. I expect we're blocked from using nearly all weapons and armor, except at their default levels. It's quite obvious that ACME built a box around a lot of the most basic skills to keep us from being anything but serfs in this game. Let's see how much we can do to crawl out of it. An hour later, they compared notes. Susie had gone with increased stats and some low-level skills that would help her along a magical path she was walking. Core skill cost magic eyes 1 and 2 3 points dark vision, 1 point ceiling increase CHR, 2 points hedge wizard, 3 points spirit of the swan, x2, 4 points spirit of the owl, 2 points hit him in the knee 5 points. This increased her CHR by 2 and let her take it eventually to 7. INT went up by 1 point. These were heritage changes, so they used the cheaper points cost. Heritage was a mystery, but she was willing to explore in the direction she was taking. Hedge Wizard was a shot in the dark with random, low-level magic spells. The last skill gave a better chance to critical with a dart, and thus a better chance of delivering a poison. Darts didn't do much damage, and some things would shrug them off. Ben just listed the skills he had found at the end of page 10. No need for much explanation. Core skill cost main hand. Hand X bow as a courier weapon 5 points, run like the wind 5 points, whip as a courier weapon 5 points. Whip, 1 attack per round, reach entangle tool. Base chance 50 plus 5x dex plus 10x level damage, 30 plus 5x dx. Instead of the default stats, Ben could now use a whip in melee with a high chance to hit, although it had a low damage. The advantages of the weapon were its versatility. Raleigh surprised everyone and was very happy with his choices. It's awesome. I don't have to eat chicken. I can heal people now. I'm betting the natural weapon mod will transfer to my pet. Plus, I'll be able to spot the next boss we run into and know what we are up against. Odd choices, but Raleigh had shown an intuition in other games that paid off. And long ago, they'd agreed that they all made their own choices. None of them had enjoyed being in max/min guilds where your choices were dictated. Core skill cost tastes like steak 5 points life transfer 1, 5 points identification 1, and 2 8 points melee damage 1 2 points. Ozzy was having difficulty. He expected to earn a couple more points of STR from his skills, and it made sense to increase his cap. That led to some worries about what the system had told him about too much STR. Spirit of the Bear fixed some of that. He'd added 1 fist of iron in the hopes of having a good, unarmed attack, since his other weapons were very situational. But what else to take eluded him, and he said as much to the group. Immediately Suzette suggested dark vision, and Yo Mama is ugly. That way the monsters will be after you, not me. That made sense to Ozzy. But why dark vision? You trip a lot in the dark. As big as you are now, I don't want you landing on anyone. A good enough reason as any to take it. He left the other point until later. Core skill cost ceiling increase STR 2 points Spirit of the Bear X2 4 points 1 fist of iron 5 points Yo Mama is ugly 2 points dark vision 20 feet 1 inch point unarmed fists X2 per round base chance 50 plus 5x STR plus 10x level evasion damage 20 plus 5x STR. Ben and Raleigh could log back in a game now. They only had a 4-hour penalty. Suzette and Ozzy were on death number 2 for the week and had another hour. They agreed to all go out to the rabbit meadow as soon as they were all out. They'd take the walk slow because of the respawn debuffs and scout carefully. Ozzy kicked back in a chair. It was a mentally tiring day. Suzette came and sat in his lap and put her arms around his neck, her head on his shoulder. Need a hug. Desperately. Can't lose my femme fatal image in front of the guys. But that freaky Cape Pillar thing, and then the undead rabbits really bothered me. Killing you didn't help. I'm glad that's out of the way. Ozzy put his arms loosely around her, squeezing once and then relaxing. I think the guys know how tough you are by now. You don't have to keep up a facade when you feel down. She smiled. Oh, it's not for them really, it's for me. This is the real me now, and I can't let that slip away. Even for a moment. Can't really go back. Not much left of me. Ozzy just held her. No talking necessary. They'd known each other a long time. Raleigh and Ben respawned in the Sedgwick Village Square. Immediately, the effects of respawning hit them. The day was a bit gloomier. Every joint hurt, and it took an effort not to throw up. At least Ben felt that way. Raleigh staggered his feet and put both thumbs in the air. Huh. Success. Still drunk. Professor Raleigh tests another theory. I'll be back in a few. Got to feed an animal. He staggered off towards the barn and corral area, leaving Ben to his misery. A few heads turned their way, but this seemed a normal enough occurrence lately to not hold much of the locals' interests. Hearing a moan from his left, Ben realized they weren't the only ones respawning. Jorge the blacksmith had his head on the fountain rim, moaning. 2 of the lumberjacks, John and Cham, were laying on their backs discussing cloud shapes. Miriam was using Jorges for a pillow. John noticed Ben. So, in case you were wondering, being able to cut down a 24-inch tree in a minute does not mean you can actually kill a goblin. Nor does a blacksmith swinging a hammer. I think Miriam did the best with a shovel, but she was just tossing dirt in its eyes. Cham disagreed. I told you that had to be an orc. Maybe a midget urukai. It was tough as hell. I only did 20 damage on my one hit. It dodged all the rest and barely looked like it was moving. Had to be an orc assassin. It's rough out there. We got killed by a wolf, but we did kill a bunny. Ben got up despite how his head felt. He planned to go visit Matthias and toss Beatrice a couple of apples. An hour later, Suzette and Ozzy appeared. John and Cham were still cloud watching. Jorges had declared he'd feel better pounding out nails, and Miriam had moved over to John and joined the discussion of cloud shapes. Washing his head in the fountain made Ozzy feel a bit better. This lasted until he noticed Suzette was dancing around the fountain, spinning on her toes, and singing some familiar tune that he just couldn't quite place. Well, someone is feeling good. How are you overcoming the respawn BS? Pretty people don't have bad days. And she was pretty. Prettier? Her curly brown hair ran down to the small of her back and was tied in ribbons. Her luminous green eyes and long pointed ears gave her an otherworldly charm. The people of Sedgwick who saw her smiled warmly at her and waved. Ozzy's head hurt. Maybe you should find a way to get some CHR? Then again, maybe not dying would be a good thing to start practicing. He did feel pretty good, though. A lot of the aches and pains were receding. Adding 2 points of con to his heritage might not let him win beauty contests, but it did make him feel better. The extra STR had felt awkward at times. That feeling was gone now. He felt more balanced as he moved. Raleigh was just coming back from the barn, where he'd tossed 2 empty buckets. Ben appeared from the livery stable with a coiled whip on his belt. Borrowed this from Matthias. Need to practice some. Do you all feel like wandering a bit in the sunny fields of Sedgwick? The others nodded, and they started walking to the rabbit meadow. This time out, they didn't have much of anything except for the clothes on their backs. What little gear they had was in their headstones. At least those would be easy to find. And if the message they had gotten was true, a chest of loot was waiting as well. The meadow looked as they'd left it. Several fat rabbits were grazing. They could see their headstones in a small clump where they had died. They walked forward cautiously, but no wolf or other predator appeared. Sure enough, a stout chest was sitting about 20 feet past their headstones. Raleigh heard a rustling in the brush, and 2 men stepped out, obviously players. The first was dressed in a blue robe with white stars on it. His label proclaimed him to be Master T Blaster Level 2 Elemental Mage. The other wore a mix of armors and had a heavy crossbow pointed at them. Sniper to Purdue, Blackguard Level 3 yelled at them. "Looky here, Master Blaster," just like you called it. Poor helpless lambs coming back for their stuff. Here's how it works, folks. You all could just touch that loot chest to unlock it and get your shiny things, then drop them on the ground and back away from it, opposite direction of your tombstones. We'll take the loot and leave. You get back your stuff. Try anything funny, and we just kill you again. And again if you keep coming back. It will annoy us to stay here, but we don't mind the experience if you don't mind losing some levels and skills each time you die. The group looked at each other and then spoke. We aren't stupid newbies. We know how this works. I don't feel like pulling crossbow bolts out of my ass and losing another level. He walked to the chest, slapped it, and walked away 30 feet. The others followed one by one, doing the same. It sucked, but no one wanted to die again. Pouches of coins dropped jingling to the ground, along with a large bulky bag and a pair of beautiful leather boots. Smart people, good working with you. If you don't have a guild yet, you might consider signing up with us. We always need smart people. In a moment, the duo's eyes went to the loot. Ozzy and Ben charged. Ozzy yelled at the crossbowman. "Hey, Goblin Fondler, over here." The crossbow had been tracking Ben, but now swung over to Ozzy and fired. The bolt hit Ozzy in the left shoulder, doing 80 points of damage. It hurt like hell, but he kept charging. The mage yelled, "Bart, they have a mage. Shoot her." Suzette was waving her hands in a pattern and muttering, and then a glowing ring surrounded her on the ground. Inner and outer rings of runes were circling her in different directions. Raleigh saw a person in camouflage step out from behind a bush where he was lurking and launch an arrow at her. Then many things happened at once. Ozzy reached the duo by the chest and threw a punch at Sniper to Purdue. He dodged the right hook, but didn't see the left to his gut coming. His gut wasn't happy. Even with the 5 points of mitigation, he took 50 points of damage and was knocked down. Master Blaster was calling out words and yelling "Fireb, Ack," but Ben's speed across the short distance took him by surprise, as did the whip that wrapped around his throat. He didn't take a lot of damage, but he also didn't have a lot of health, and he wasn't going to be casting spells with his air cut off. Ben was less successful trying to punch him with his offhand. The arrow from the camouflaged ranger came close enough to Suzette that it actually went through her hair, barely missing her ear. The runic circle had fully formed, and she began to cast a second spell. Raleigh moved up towards where Ozzy was fighting and started channeling health to him. It was costing him stamina, but he had a lot to spare. The next round saw Sniper to Purdue unsuccessful in both his attempt to bash Ozzy with his crossbow or get away. Giving up, he went for his dagger. Ozzy, on the other hand, was in a good position to start punching hard. His first shot was deflected by the crossbow, knocking it from his opponent's hand. The other hit did 55 more damage when it caught Sniper to Purdue in the head. Master Blaster and Ben seemed content rolling around on the ground and slapping at each other. The ranger put an arrow into Suzette, doing 60 damage. Her spell in return did 30 points of damage to him as a brilliant, glowing arrow staked towards him and hit him in the face. The runic formation around her collapsed. Hearing Suzette cry out, Raleigh moved back to her and started sending her health. Ozzy took a dagger in the ribs, but 2 hard hits sent Sniper to Purdue back to respawn. Ben began strangling the mage with the whip. The mage could only flail back with his fists as he turned purple. Suzette took another arrow and returned fire with another glowing arrow. Raleigh continued to heal her. Ozzy started a charge towards the ranger. He promptly took an arrow in the chest that staggered him. But that was the last arrow the ranger would get off. A third spell from Suzette hit him in the face. In total, the 3 spells had barely done a third of his health, but the last one also blinded him. That was all Ozzy needed to tackle him and beat him with his fists until he despawned. Ben finished off the mage, and the fight was over. Raleigh expended almost all of his stamina to heal them all up. They quickly gathered up their coins and items and decided to head back to Sedgwick before something else happened. Your party has slain several players. Master T Blaster, level 3. Sniper to Purdue, level 3. Danger Ranger, level 4. You have each earned 250 points of experience that will be applied to your Tier 2 progression quest. Kill more players to earn more experience. Interesting. I wonder what all is involved in that quest. Not that I see us maxing out Tier 1 ever at the rate we earn EP. Not the sharpest bunch. I hate jackalls. Ben didn't mind PvP at all, but he considered it a cowardly act to ambush lower levels players. This bunch must have sat here for hours waiting for them. Their little camp confirmed it. I want to know when Suzette became a big, bad wizard queen. What was that freaky runic aura you had swirling around you? Huh, yes, I am now the wizard queen of Sedgwick. You want to be my minion, Raleigh? Nope, just want the cool special effects. How'd you do that? Honestly, no clue. I took the hedge wizard ability and got 3 random cantrips. I hadn't even tried them yet when those assholes attacked. I just started casting to get their attention and cause confusion. My awesome new magics are Runic Aura, Sun Arrow, and Bug Swarm. Problem is, I don't know runes, so I don't know what the Runic Aura does. Sun Arrow seems to be a wimpy sort of magic missile with a small chance to blind the target, and the last one just creates a few insects. She gestured and sent a half-dozen beetles towards Raleigh. Oh, useful for feeding the chickens. They love bugs. Raleigh gathered up a few things the would-be ambushers had lost. The heavy crossbow had been left behind, as had the archer's bow. Both had dropped their ranged weapons in the vain attempt to fight off Ozzy. They also left their packs behind in a hasty camp. Raleigh immediately went through their packs. He loved seeing what other players packed around with them. 3 pairs of socks, clean. 2 pairs of socks, dirty. Underwear, not checking, you never know. Oh, except for this silk pair of boxer shorts. Oh shit, they might be magic. Silk boxer shorts of twice a night. Can you tell me if they're magical, Susie? They look magical to me, sort of glowing. Keeping them. String, a small knife, tobacco, a small clay pipe, some leather oil, 2 wine skins, a wool cloak, and a book with a map in it. Surely nothing. Smiling, he tossed it to Ben. Ben opened it and then slapped his forehead. Wow, not the brightest of people. The journal mentions going north to spy on ACME in Sedgwick. They were supposed to get back to their Momco supervisor in a week with maps and any info. I think they might be going home sooner. Wonder where they respawned. Ozzy shrugged. Hopefully far away. How do you want to play this? We can't really say got ambushed collecting boss loot and killed 3 spies. But I also think we should get the info to Billy. He might do something about them if more show up. Agreed, Ben said. How about this? We take 1 pack, put in the dirty socks and underwear in the journal, say we found it, and give it to Billy. I can take the 2 bows into town and either sell them or stash them in the livery stable. Split up the odds and ends as you need, and we stow the rest in the packs under hay in the barn. The others nodded. Simple plan, let Billy deal with it. Suzette went up to Ozzy and made doe eyes at him. Ozzy, dearest, Your old pal Suzette is just wondering what you're going to do with that lovely fabric and lace. Seeing an opening, Ben took Ozzy's other arm and imitated Suzette. Oh, Ozzy, you big strong man, I bet you would just love to let me have that delicate leather. Ozzy stopped and opened the bag. Let me guess. Pretty dress and fancy hats are needed. Heads nodded up and down. Ozzy's bag got much lighter. The wood will make nice tool handles at least. You can share our spoils. All we got was this useless hard cash. Each of them transferred 2 silver over to Ozzy. Thanks, Ozzy. The two ran off, Ben to the livery stable to look at hat patterns in the Courier Journal, and Suzette to the dressmakers. Ozzy expected that Raleigh would head for a beer since he had coins in his pocket, but he sketched a quick goodbye and headed off to check on his animals. Ozzy decided he needed that beer and headed to the tavern. In the village of Brockerton, many miles away, the unhappy trio of Master T Blaster, Sniper to Purdue, and Danger Ranger respawned. Fething hell. Those cheaters. I lost a complete level in heavy crossbow. I lost my Whippoorwill bow. Damn. You know what that cost me? Who the Feth takes an arrow in the chest and keeps running at you. They had a mage and high level. That was an aura of some type she manifested instantly, plus some type of elemental bolt. She had 2 different spell sets. Set us up. That was a reverse ambush. Tank, healer, mage, and a rogue. All dressed up like serfs to take us by surprise. Probably armor under the burlap. The tank had to be using brass knuckles. Those punches hurt. We got a report back. The fields of groats and cow herds are just for show. ACME is building a damn army up there and try to keep it quiet. Must be something big going down. Fething hell. Where's my heavy crossbow? How am I supposed to buy a new one? ACME Virtual HQ, currently disguised as a stinking barn. Wait, no, it actually is a stinking barn. Okay, Billy. Obviously you are in charge. Home turf and all. Layla, you're under Billy for now. Get your people moving up to Sedgwick. I'm going to get a bit of muscle heading your way, and 2 more work crews. I have things to take care of down south that I can't get out of until Monday morning. I'll use a teleporter to get north faster. Layla, send your crew up the road, but you take a teleport to Rowan Keep and get to work. Keep me appraised. Now get moving. Vern watched the 2 disappear from a barn to head back into the game world. Oh, this was delightful. A dungeon? And so early in the game? Excellent. Much more than he'd expected. And now he got to watch a new episode of the Billy and Layla show. Endlessly amusing to see who got who first. Now on to the next bit of drama, which was actually the real reason for this meeting. He hadn't even had to fake a big announcement. Billy had done that for him. Who took the bait? His head of HR took off his hood and rolled back his sleeve to reveal a wrist comp. 2 buttons got pushed, a nanosecond went by, and he had his list. Annabelle immediately put in a call that got routed a few times, but ended up at a drop used by Pentex. Barbara communicated with one of our double agents that she thinks works for Soilenko. And your pal Sammy sent a message that bounced through 16 satellites before going to the HQ of Momco. Vern considered for a moment. Annabelle isn't worth trying to turn into a double agent. Not bright enough. Transfer her to product testing for new products. We always need people to work out the kinks in this year's line of rocket skates. Leave Barbara where she is, but send her a gift of 3 pounds of the green variety. As for Sammy, send him north. He works for Billy now. Transfer control of Annabelle's workers to Billy. All taken care of, boss. We should begin moving. You have a meeting in the capital in 30 minutes. Vern hopped back onto his throne. The bearers picked it up and marched out of the barn, heading to the transfer point. Shouldn't be late to a dinner with the Emperor. Suzette walked quickly through the small village. She'd seen a sign for a tailor attached underneath that of another business, but forgot which one. It only took a few minutes to find it, an advantage of small towns. The sign with the tailor's shears was underneath one that had a mortar and pestle and a bubbling flask. Tailoring and alchemy? Interesting combination. Maybe they had something stylish in a lab coat. Entering, she saw that the tailor occupied the front of the building and a hallway in back led to the alchemist. A silver-haired woman in her 50s was running a length of wispy white silk through her hands and matching it against various types of thread, not finding a satisfying match. Suzette waited a bit impatiently, trying not to tap her foot on the floor. Carefully folding the white silk back up and placing it in a drawer, the seamstress turned to Suzette. Well, none of these is fine enough. Perhaps in the next batch. Enough of that. Let's talk about what you need, young lady. Let me guess. You'd like to get something made to replace that stunningly horrible burlap dress? Suzette handed her the bolt of light green satin and roll of cream trim. Yes, please. I'm short on cash, but I have this fabric and trim. My new job is at the tavern, and I need something better than this. Oh, this is nice. These must have come from a dungeon treasure. Very good quality. I can make a lovely evening gown or party dress from these. Is that what you're looking for? I will need some coin for thread and my work. I actually need something more along the lines of a work dress. I've been assigned to work in the tavern as a barmaid. I see. I can make something for you, although I hate to think of this nice fabric becoming a work uniform. Perhaps we could do a trade? I could be quite generous with the clothes on that rack. They are of lesser quality material, but will wear much better than this fragile fabric. Take a look and see if a couple of them suit you. I can alter them to what you want. Suzette looked over at the rack. It had quite a few dresses and a few shirts. She walked over to take a look, but before she reached it, she heard an intake of breathe and a small scream. You made it back. Oh, I felt so bad. I'm so glad you made it. Daddy says it's a long walk back. She was nearly tackled to the ground by Zephyr rushing up and hugging her. Oh God, that thing was horrible. I saw you poison it, but I just ran and ran when I saw what it did. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I left you. Suzette tried to comfort the girl. It's all right. You got away, and I walked back. If you hadn't have run, it would have just gotten both of us. The older woman was looking at her with a smile. Suzette could see the resemblance to Zephyr in her face. So, you're the brave hero that saved my little girl? Yeah, my thanks for that. Come, Zephyr, your friend here needs some work clothes and a new ball gown. You can help me take her measurements. She pulled 2 dresses from the rack and got a measuring tape. I'm Adriana. My husband, Alistair, will want to meet you as well. You have our thanks for saving our little girl. To start with, let's get you measured and these dresses altered. You'll want them loose enough to move around in, but also tight enough in the bodice to accentuate those looks of yours. I worked in a tavern myself when I was younger. It's a lot of work, and you need the right clothes for it. And to maximize those tips. Within half an hour, Adriana had modified one dress into something much more suitable for tavern work. Suzette changed into it immediately and rolled up the horrible burlap outfit and put it in her pack. When she did, she noticed the cocoon she had found and pulled it out. Is this something that could be useful? The thread seems very fine and strong, but I'm not quite sure just what it is. I found it near the river when I was gathering herbs. Adriana was very still. May I? Oh yes, these have use. These silky strands can be spun into a very fine thread. I haven't seen its like in a long, long time. Zephyr, please fetch your father. I'd like to show this to him. Zephyr ran to the back of the house, and Adriana took the silk from the cocoon and then held it against the pale silk she had been holding when Suzette arrived. It was an exact match. Zephyr returned with her father in tow. He was a tall man, over 6 foot in height, thin with long fingered hands, stained from years of crafting potions. His bald head was dominated by a hawk-shaped nose and dark eyes that focused on the cocoon in his wife's hands. He stared at it for a few seconds before turning to Suzette, when he again stopped to stare for a long moment. Oh, and aren't we thrice blessed today? The young hero that saved our daughter, a cocoon of a species long thought dead, and then proof that all things are connected. As he said this, a glowing golden triangle appeared upon his forehead, and both Zephyr and Adriana turned to stare at her. She had no doubt an identical mark on her forehead was also visible to them. I see that we have much to talk about, my dear. Would you like to stay for dinner? Raleigh couldn't wait to go visit Squirmy again. He'd taken 2 big buckets of offal to the recovering pet early in the morning, but was pretty sure he was hungry again. Lucky that Squirmy really liked meat. He also took a bag of grain for Ferdinand and Betty. They weren't as cool as a Squirmy, but having them as pets could be great too. Both seemed appreciative of the snack. Moving on to the little hideaway, he found the big caterpillar was indeed hungry, but he wasn't looking so good. Squirmy was indeed not feeling well. The poison from a horrible 2-leg was still in his system and was slowly killing him. He had tried and tried again to form a healing cocoon, but even this small act was beyond him. There might be another way, though. He reached for an anchor in his pet's thoughts and went through his memories. It was very confusing. This two-leg had so many memories, even some memories of bonding with other creatures. Astounding. How old was it? This was truly an extraordinary pet. He was glad he had found it. Squirmy is not feeling well. He is probably dying. He thanks you for trying to help. No, no, this is not happening. I've raised dragons from petrified moon eggs. I tamed a nether kraken in the Black Ocean. I'm not losing a pet before we get to go do cool things together. Raleigh triggered both his animal healing and share health abilities. His mana and stamina plummeted fast. He continued to share his health even when his mana was gone and stamina ran out. His health dropped 150, 25, 10, 5, and he collapsed barely conscious with 1 point of health left, his arms holding his pet near him. Its body was failing, but the VHC was bursting with power. A desperate plan formed. It would be very vulnerable for a time, but might keep it from dying. Dying sucked. It had died before, its essence being absorbed into the soil and forming a cocoon, there to sit for hundreds, if not thousands, of years before it could emerge. A horrible experience, but far better to cheat death that way than to have to walk back from the hellish realm where its soul would be sent. It wasn't ready to sleep again. It would have to take the gamble that this pet could both handle the strain and become powerful enough for the next alternate ending. Squirmy has a chance. Your healing has given him the energy needed to start a new evolution and heal his poor, broken body. This is dangerous for both of you, but will bring you much closer together. Make the sacrifice of helping Squirmy evolve and live. This is a major quest. Why /N? Yes, there was a blinding flash of light, and Raleigh felt a huge amount of pain. The caterpillar convulsed in his grip. He held on tighter. More pain, and then he fell unconscious. When he awoke, he felt very strange. The caterpillar was gone. Squirmy, resting so sleepy, will grow and get better. Good pet. The voice was coming from inside Raleigh. Good pet? No, best pet ever. He'd save Squirmy. His pet could get better. Soon they could go adventuring together. Raleigh was too tired to go back to the barn to sleep. He'd just sleep here. It was a good nest. He and Squirmy could both rest here. Congratulations. You have earned a title, Incubator Pet Breeder. Your heritage has progressed. Mixed race, human 90%, blight pet handler, 10%, gain +2 con. Gain the core skill, mitigation 1. Gain the core skill, melee weapons 2, symbiotic pet skill. Gain core skill, disguise. There have been changes to your normal form. You may disguise these changes with minimal effort. Congratulations. You have formed a permanent bond with Squirmy. You have earned 100 points in animal healing. You have earned 1,000 EP in Bond Pet Bond. Pet Bond is now at level 5. You have earned 1,100 EP in WIS. Your WIS is at maximum. These EP will be banked until you unlock a higher WIS cap. You have received a major quest. Help Squirmy evolve. You have unlocked the event, Blightfall. Congratulations. You have unlocked the event Pets for Everyone. This event will partially progress as a consequence of your actions. Gain 3 core skill points for starting a regional event. Dinner with Zephyr's family was both normal and exceedingly strange. Zephyr grabbed Suzette and dragged her into the kitchen, explaining that she did most of the cooking. Adriana tended to burn most meals as she became preoccupied with some aspect of her sewing, and it just wasn't good to let Alistair alone in the kitchen for too long. Not only would the food not get done, but he often tried to improve things by applying alchemical processes. Some of these worked, like the pot that boiled water without any heat source. But the enhanced mashing hammer simply destroyed the veggies or meat you try to tenderize. There were still a few bits of carrots high on the ceiling. Zephyr had taken up cooking at an early age in self-defense. Suzette was happy to help with the simple meal of stir-fried rabbit and chopped vegetables. It beat the normal food they got by a mile. Adriana insisted on the full story of the girl's encounter with a monstrous crawler. Suzette's use of the poison berries had Alistair nodding his head in respect. Smart thinking. That much poison should kill most anything. Did you happen to get a message saying you had killed it? We brought a party to kill it when Zeph came running in. It was gone from area, its trail leading down to the river, but it was obviously hurt badly. No death message. No EP. I think it's still out there. Maybe it was hurt badly enough to have run it off. One can hope. Yes, or possibly it will die days from now. That amount of poison will not be easy to live through. All its bodily functions will be paralyzed and shutting down. Alistair was deep in thought. The cocoon you brought to my wife is a clue to its nature. There were creatures long ago who made cocoons like that, and the silk could be harvested after they emerged. And rare, so very rare, Adriana added. The bolt of silk cloth you saw me working with is old. It was passed down to me from my grandmother. I've never found a quality thread that would work with it. That is why I was so excited to see what you had. Silk crawlers are thought to be extinct. Is that what that thing that killed me was? A silk crawler? Suzette shivered. It had been horrible, but worse, she swore the thing had intelligence lurking in its eyes. No, or rather, not anymore. Silk crawlers were just a large insect that could grow and eventually metamorphized into large moths. The moths might prey on small animals, but mostly ate other giant insects that were present in the south. But they were changed in the Blight War. Along with many other creatures, they were tainted, becoming soldiers in a horrible army that eradicated all other life. Alistair stood and retrieved a pipe and tobacco, lighting it with a metal rod. But they weren't on the winning side and were purged with fire and magic. Some parts of the south are still arid and barren where the ground was burnt deep to kill the blight. This, hopefully, is just some similar creature from a dungeon or pool of dark magic. But on to important things. You died and met Lord Hermes, I take it, and joined our little band of philosophers? Welcome. Suzette gave the details of her meeting. Alistair was obviously part of the Hermetic Order and didn't mind talking in front of his wife and daughter, and both had seen the mark on her forehead. Family perk. He delighted in all the details and often had her repeat things. Zephyr also was excited by the tale. After the first time through, Adriana suggested they move to the front of the house. I'd best get a little work done on some alterations. I'll have your second work dress finished tomorrow and the gown by the end of the week. The cocoon and my daughter make payment enough, and we got a bargain at that. So what are your plans now? Where do your studies take you? Alistair asked. I'm not sure. Things move so fast. I like to pursue working with some herbs and alchemy, but I'm lacking in a lot of practical knowledge. Suzette felt like she was talking with her old guidance counselor from basic education. Alistair and Adriana had quite a bit of advice to give. Seeing Zephyr roll her eyes, she figured rightly that this was familiar to her as well. Adriana and her husband shared a long look, then she went first. Here's what I suggest. When you start working for Derek at the tavern, tell him I recommended you take the room in the attic. Offer a silver piece a week for rent. I've seen those horrible little huts they have you live in. After some work cleaning the room up, it will be much better. It's good for him as you aren't far away. And good for you because after a late night of wrangling drunks, the last thing you want is a walk home in the dark. That sounded wonderful to Suzette. She would certainly do that. Then, I think you should take advantage of my husband and have him further your alchemical studies. All well and good to have some secret order with special handshakes, but if that knowledge isn't passed on, it's wasted. Zephyr needs someone to help her with herb gathering in the mornings. I can't think of anyone I'd trust more for that. You already died to save her once. Afternoons, you can help Alistair with brewing potions, and he can tutor you in the basics. Then off to your job, slinging booze. When Adriana laid it all out, it was hard not to see the benefits. She'd be working on herb lore and alchemy, and be able to help them out by giving Zephyr a partner. The final deal maker was dinner a couple of nights a week with them. They worked out the details, and then she had to scurry off to work. Ozzy was enjoying his second beer along with a loaf of fresh bread when Suzette came through the door. To say she made an entrance was an understatement. She was wearing a white bodice with red ribbons that tied off the rolled-up sleeves at her elbows. It was tucked into a flowing red peasant skirt that stopped just above her knees. Her curly brown hair was pulled back, showing off her sharply pointed ears and large green eyes. Every eye in the room was on her as she walked up to Derek behind the bar and curtsied. "Hey, boss. Reporting for duty. What can I help with?" Derek had seen all the people working for Billy the first day and wasn't impressed. When they'd agreed on the deal and he'd asked for a barmaid to help out with the work, he'd expected someone wearing a burlap dress. He wondered where the hell he'd been hiding this one. She was certainly more than he'd expected, and he was quite happy to turn the bar over to her after he rattled off the different beers in the huge kegs and saw that she knew her way around a bar. Looking at how the boys in the room were lining up to get a mug and talk to their enchanting new barmaid, Derek figured business would be picking up. He'd start another few casks of beer tomorrow morning. He was pretty sure he was going to need them.